Alrighty, welcome to the Creedcast. Thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate you all coming along with us on the journey that is hopefully usually happy most weeks, and we're just celebrating. But this week it is a therapy session, so we appreciate you coming along and holding our hands through it. As unfortunately, your Port Adelaide Footy Club lost in uniquely embarrassing fashion for the third AFL Men's Showdown on the bounce, scoring 5 goals, 8 fucking teen points, 48 to the Crows, far more clinical on the day with a score that ended 12-6-78. They tacked on a few at the end as we ran out of a bit of steam, but they overall deserved the win despite a dominance of some key stats. They were simply, unfortunately, better with the ball, more confident in themselves despite being on paper the more limited team. Selection gambles blew up massively as well. It was a disaster, really. To quote the poor Nancy Huff, mother of one Brennan Huff from the Step Brothers, what the fucking fuck? Jamie, what the fucking fuck?
What the fucking fuck indeed. Hello, Dave, and hello, everyone. Therapy is now in session. Yeah, look, not much to break down with this one. It'll be a quick episode, everyone. We didn't kick straight. There you go. Podcast done.
Yeah.
No.
Bring in Jay Schultz.
Bringing Jay Schultz. Yeah, another 1,000 followers for Jay on Thursday night. Yeah, look, I guess I don't know if it's even an elephant in the room, but obviously I've chosen that topic. I've been pretty vocal on that topic and chosen it to be the hill that I die on, or as I said last week. But when something's so glaringly obvious, you have to call it for what it is. And we lost because we didn't take our opportunities across 4 quarters of football. It wasn't as if we had one absolutely terrible quarter. Like the St Kilda game, the first quarter stood out, but we did a fair bit to remedy that in the next 3 quarters. But yeah, we lost this game in the first half equally by our poor goal kicking, and it wasn't just set shot goal kicking. I actually think it was more general play in the first quarter, first half. But also matchups early on as well. Look, in hindsight, there was a lot that seemed arrogant. There was a lot that seemed ill-equipped knowledge for the situation somehow. So while the goal kicking was terrible, and it is quite absolutely the reason why we lost, yeah, there was some really embarrassing side notes to the whole night as well that we'll have to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess since you have brought it up, the goal kicking, it is interesting because a lot of people, again, on Twitter, and again, like I'm just not like I'm against bringing in any more help for the players, but my thing, 2 things really with it. One, it's and a few people I've seen the discussion starting a bit more on Twitter as well, which is good to see. A lot of Port fans are starting to kind of talk about the fact that it is as much the chance generation and where they're coming from as much as the kicking, which again is my thing from the weekend. When you look at some of the maps that came out with obviously the xScore, but there was the map, like the top-down view map of where the opportunities came from, where goals came from for both teams, and the Crows had 5, 6 goals from 3 that were in the square basically, which two of them were marks in the square basically, 2 marks from just outside on a tight angle, but 20, 30 meters out, and a couple of others in just either pocket, really close in a goal. Whereas if you look at our map, and I'll put this up if you're listening, watching on YouTube, I'll put the map up. You'll see it coming up as we're talking about it. You look at ours. Obviously, ours is the one with a lot more purple, with a lot more misses. But there was nothing. Basically you can draw a line from about 20 meters out down across the arc of the field, and there's just no chances from in there. And then barely any goals scored from within 30 meters, and just a whole lot of misses. And so it's, whereas the Crows got a lot of chances and converted basically all of them from within 20 to 30 meters out, whether that be in the square or on either angle. They were just converting well from a lot more limited opportunities, but they were finding a way to generate good scoring opportunities where we just don't at the moment. In these kind of games, yeah, it looks Essendon a few weeks ago, which was a lifetime ago now. It felt like we were finding them easy, but There was a moment in the game. There was a few moments where we picked, but it's just like we're not consistent enough in finding that drive forward to pick out targets in good goal scoring opportunities. And yeah, and even a lot of those goal scoring opportunities were just general plays rather than set shots because we weren't taking enough marks inside 50. Considering, I mean, we had 10 more inside 50s, but they had one. I think the Crows had one more mark inside 50. I think for the game. Yeah, marks inside 50 or 11 to the Crows, 10 to us, even though we had 57 inside 50s to 47. So that kind of says the story about kind of how both teams were working the ball in. And yes, it is a problem with us being the more dominant team a little bit. But if you're going to be a dominant team in any sport, whether it be, soccer, the big teams have to deal with parking the bus teams all the time, teams that play in a style to try to limit what you do and then they try to catch you on the counter. And you've got to be able to work through that because the best teams, the teams that win AFL premierships, do just overwork that and find their way to a winning score against these kind of teams anyway. And we're just not anywhere near. This game was one of those ones that really, the Collingwood game was an aberration for different reasons because they are a defending premiership team, and we just didn't match up with them towards the end of the game and just couldn't stop their run.
Once the heat came, we turned to the water.
But this game was different in the sense that it was a rivalry game against a team that should be, over the past couple of years, we were a top 4 team last year, still couldn't beat them and they didn't make finals. This year, I mean, we were looking like a top 4 team early. Now you probably gonna say it's like we're looking like one of those teams. We're falling back into the mix of the teams trying to fight for the top 8 now, if we're not careful. It was concerning that in a rivalry game and a game against a lesser team, again, I don't say that to be mean to the Crows, as much as I do enjoy doing that at times. I'm just saying it as an objective fact as the way the season started, to not be able to work through them. And they're pretty well, some pretty well good defenders down there, young defenders down there. But yeah, I found it quite concerning that we couldn't work out how to figure that out all game and didn't seem to have just kept on trying the same thing and didn't work and just effort and intent wasn't there either. So yeah, it was concerning in a lot of ways.
Losses in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, the goal
figuring out what we're doing wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't find that the goal kicking still, we missed a few set shots that would have crucially got us back within because we were never truly out of the game at any point. It's just we didn't look like we had a way back in either. So yeah.
No, I guess as well as that is, partly to go along with you not figuring out what was going wrong. And like we got ourselves frustratingly behind early and had a lot of the play for the whole entire game. But it was as if we were chasing, like a 5-goal lead for the whole, like 3 quarters after quarter time. When we had plenty of time to kind of clinically or professionally work our way back into it. And, again, it's a very uniquely predictable way to lose for us. In saying that, though, our 3 losses have kind of come all a little bit differently. Which, Melbourne, a lot of people were putting down to goal kicking, but we discussed last week and in the review of that game, that it's one of 3 things that you could choose your own adventure with Melbourne, and then Collingwood. It was a test of wheels, I guess you could say, with contested ball and some of that effort. And the effort was 100% there in this game, the showdown.
Yeah, we won the contested ball, which we didn't last year in the showdowns.
We won contested ball. Which, Mark Bickley and several others brought up. One contested ball, we won clearance. Like you said, we won inside 50. I said to my dad over the weekend that I'm just a bit sick of being the better team and losing. In like a lot of our losses, particularly like in recent times, you sit back and go, we were the better team.
Particularly the ones at Adelaide Oval.
But why don't we have the 4 points? a lot of the key statistical markers, again, like the Melbourne game, we were ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
like, just for those listening or watching, again, thank you. But I, uh, I've watched every game that we've reviewed back
Mm-hmm.
another time, just to so that you're taking it all in. And like, so they were so accurate in the first quarter, and like you said, it was because a lot of their shots were coming from very close to goal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another issue of ours, which we flagged in the preseason episodes, about being flipped over so well. But if you take the scoreboard away, excuse me, if you take the scoreboard away, you're watching the game, and yeah, the Crows had their good pockets of football, but we had so much of the play,
Mm-hmm.
and so much we did right in some aspects was all just unraveled through unnecessary free kicks when we were foraying forward,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't
dump
have.
kicks
Yeah.
from half back or backward of center wing. Um, and then yeah, obviously the poor goal kicking at the end.
And
But
poor
yeah,
disposal.
it's just a bit
Yeah,
bewildering.
there was poor disposal efficiency as well. Like we were a little bit more careless with the ball and a little bit
Yeah.
didn't seem very clean.
Like a half, we were going at under 50%
Yeah,
disposal efficiency or something like that. It was
yeah. I
at one
think
point it was like 30%. Like,
Jesus, I've only
you just
that
can't have that.
that definitely checks out. I didn't know. I didn't actually see the stat until after the game, which was 64%, which is 8% below our season average. They were running at 72, which is their season average. So,
Good.
which is
Yeah.
kind of generally where you want a team being. And turnovers, we lost by 71 to 77 as well. So that kind of tells the story on that front as well. Yeah, as you said, it felt like overall the structure again in between the arcs we're pretty good in these kind of games particularly. I know Collingwood, they kind of turned us over fairly well, but unfortunately when we get that forward press, if teams get out the back of our forward press, then they can move the ball down quite well, and that's where they got a
Mm.
few of their opportunities from. And then we kind of just, that goal line defending again, Zerk Thatcher from coming from behind the line to try to, which I think he could have punched that one if he'd been in a better position. Jordan Sweet was out of
It
position there
looked
as
like
well.
he could have.
Yeah. It was fairly high,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think,
you'd
but
probably expect, was it Fogarty or Tex who had that shot? Oh, it was at the start of the third quarter. It was Tex.
yes, it was Tex,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, we needed to respond, and somehow he'd been given space on the opposite side of the 50 to where the kick
Let
came
let
from.
let me find my first note of quarter three, as I've said on the podcast. I have my notes.
I
It's
think you wrote
all
a tweet as well.
I might, yeah. I don't think I actually put the
Yeah.
note in, but my note in my notes just says all caps, ha ha ha, you fucking idiots. Let Walker immediately out for an open chance. Yeah, I think on Twitter I just said, "Oh, yeah, that's the way to get back in the game, boys." Like, just,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
But like you said, he um for whatever reason he didn't get all of it, and had, yeah, a Sweet or someone been on the line.
Sweet had
Yeah, you're
gone.
probably touching that.
Yeah, Sweet had. I think it was either Kingy and Joey Montagna on the after match. Because I told you off air, I was up watching. I just sat there and had 6 a.m. It was funny. This is a slight side note. I'm texting with my group chat of my mates from college over here, and my buddy on the East Coast, which is 3 hours ahead of where we are over here in Los Angeles. He's working at ESPN, so he's in the office, and he's just starting to text in the morning, and he's just sends one of those random reels of people like guys talking about IPAs. And like he's just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
funny. Like just one of those random, like, oh, bearded guys in their 30s drinking IPA, something like
Yeah.
that. As I do that right now. And like I just replied and said, oh, that's me literally right now. And he just sent back, what? Because he's probably looked at the clock on the
It's
East
like, I'm
Coast and
at
gone,
work.
he's like, it's 9 a.m. I know it's 6 a.m. for you. And then I just texted back, Port lost in the showdown. And he goes, ah. Because even though he doesn't know it, doesn't know the sport, where I've battered him enough over the years with knowledge that he knows what that means. So, um,
Mm.
but yeah, I lost my train of thought there with that story. But it just, yeah, Tex. Oh, yeah. So I was up watching,
Yeah,
having a
Tex in
beer.
the third,
Yeah,
yeah. Goal line.
watching, yeah, having a beer, watching the post match as it was at 6 a.m. here. And Yeah, they talked about that moment, and Jordan Sweet had got kind of dragged out by Jordan Sweet was down there. He was about 20 meters away from goal, but he kind of followed whoever his opponent at that particular moment was, and just didn't think like situationally. I mean, yeah, maybe if you don't follow him, but I think there was another. Yeah, who knows? It's just the point
You're
being,
probably expecting Tex to kick that post height, to be
yeah,
fair. But when you're on as a team, you're catering for all situations. You've
hmm
just got that presence of mind, and we didn't. Well, and excuse me, I say that again. Zerk Thatcher at the death had the presence of mind to go, oh, this is going to fall short. But yeah, it was too
yeah,
late. It was,
hmm
like, it was too late.
and
Um,
particularly considering we've had a
yeah,
few moments like this season, it's becoming a real
yeah, just protect the goal
frustrating.
line,
Yeah.
like, for fuck's sake.
Because we never get those. There's always someone fucking back there when we snap one of those ones around and
Yeah,
it falls
of
short.
course.
We rarely get those. And
That's how it
but it's
feels right
yeah.
now. We
Yeah,
never get them.
there's probably no
Mom.
yeah, if I tweeted that at Sir Swamp Thing, he'd probably be like, actually,
Mm.
this is the stats and Porter one of the top teams over the last 10 years. I'd be like, well, fuck me. But
Do
you
you
know,
have another tweet of his from Thursday night in mind when you said that?
there was something, wasn't there? Fuck. Well, I
Yeah,
forgot. I favored it, but I don't.
someone that we've um thinly mentioned on the podcast before tagged Swampy in the goalless quarters since
That's right.
has Ken has been in charge of Port, and then I love how cut and dry Sir Swamp Thing is. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, here's the stat. And sometimes you can, even though he doesn't add emotion to his tweets, sometimes you can
There's a subtle
pick
like,
up on a sass
mm,
aspect to it. And yeah, like, after Port's goalless second quarter, yeah, he got put out to Sir Swamp Thing, and then he put up goalless quarter ladder from 2013 onwards, and Port is like fourth bottom
I know that
in terms
surprised
of goalless
me. Like,
quarters
and
or
I'm,
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's, yeah,
Just kind of, it seemed like a bit of a clapback, even though, Sir Swamp Thing, he's the greatest mystery in AFL circles, and who knows what
he's going to be
like
like,
section of football public he resides in, what team he goes for, any of that stuff. He
it's going
just
to be like,
puts it out there, and everyone was kind of just like, oh, okay, well,
yeah,
we're still rolling with it. It's still Hinkley
it's
ball.
it's still a Hinkley special, but it doesn't
Yeah,
seem as
yeah.
special as it did before. It's
Not
more,
necessarily. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like
yeah.
it's kind of like the goal kicking thing. I mean, we'll talk about Geelong later when we preview this week's game, but Geelong had a
Oh,
pretty horrible week in front of the Sticks last week as well. So it's
yeah,
kind
Dave. Yeah.
it's kind of
Look,
like
you're right. And sorry, yeah, you finish what you were going to say.
I was just going to say, like, we talk about goal kicking as an especially Port Adelaide
Mm.
problem, but it is just teams just have bad weeks. We seem to be having, we are, I think, 16th in the league with,
I was just about,
yeah.
yeah,
So we
yeah. I
are
think it was
actually,
Rashudo
yeah,
brought it up on the telecast. Like, that's a tangible,
it
like,
is. And after
statistic.
eight weeks now, we have to start considering it as a,
Yeah.
the first few weeks, like we did after the West Coast game, did pretty much say, look, let's see how this goes because we played pretty well. But now, when we've lost a showdown to the Crows, who I think I said it to someone on Twitter after the game, I said they have been a better team over the last 3 to 4 weeks. Obviously, the Carlton win was a big one for them away from home, and so they have
Mm.
been better than their start of the season. I think I did think earlier this week, even before the game happened, I thought, fuck, I wish we'd caught them at the start of the year. Like, because sometimes the showdown is in the first 3 to 4 weeks, but then
Yeah, and
this,
I
yeah,
actually hate that. For that kind of reason, is that, like, I feel that you need time to, yeah, get into the season before having a showpiece game. Yeah,
yeah.
now you're just like, fuck, why couldn't it be like round three?
Hindsight's twenty
Like
twenty,
it
isn't
has
it?
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The round three, what the Jordan Dawson, it's coming back goal was like round three of that year. So, which very similar issues in conversion being an issue there because we would have won that game if we'd converted better as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, it's funny just rounding back to that is that yeah, the start of the first quarter and the start of the third quarter after obviously start of the game and after the long break both started the same way. The Crows immediately getting down and getting a goal that kind of just was frustrating. I've got
There
a
was
lot of notes here.
many examples of us scrapping down one end continuously for nothing or
Mm,
effectively nothing, and yeah, them finding clear space out the back. And they made a note of it in the telecast that um, Adelaide's half forwards were pushing up quite high, and our half backs continuously getting sucked in
mm,
to it and leaving ourselves exposed on the back end. And yeah, like it's the greatest balancing act with modern day coaching is like how much do you trust your or have to have trust in your team to react, like leaders on the field and whatnot. And
mm.
I know Ken's on the bench, but yeah, like how much trust do you have to have versus going like fucking don't get sucked in, like
Yeah.
stop getting. But you know, did that leave you exposed somewhere else? I have no fucking idea. But visually, you're just going, why do we keep letting ourselves get
Mm,
exposed over the back? Because it seems to be their only avenue to goal. Like they had a couple, um, honourable forays forward, but it just seemed that, yeah, a lot of their opportunities came off the back end of us losing possession, realistically anywhere on the field,
yeah.
and it getting flicked over a lot of overlaps and then finding space forward.
Yeah, and they were pretty,
Um,
and they kind of knew that as well. They were reasonably brave going forward because they knew that was
mm,
an avenue forward. Because we're pretty unfortunately this
yeah,
year it's
again,
kind of been a
predictable.
yeah. There was even
Mm,
I think there was one that there was kind of a ball came out of our forward 50 into kind of just inside the center square, and like I think it was in sometime in the second half. Like just was in the contest, and he just did a flick over the back, like
yeah.
palmed it over the back. Someone was running onto it, and they went for it. I can't remember if a goal was scored, but that to me that was. I remember,
Thankfully, I don't think they did.
yeah, but I just remember at the time just going, well, fuck, there's
Yeah, it
another
was in the last
opportunity.
quarter.
Yeah, but it just
Mm.
showed their bravery and kind of their readiness for the game versus our timidness, I guess. And this is probably a good time to bring up
Oh,
um,
yeah, go on.
some weird comments out of the game afterwards from Butters, which who we love. Obviously, nothing. This isn't Butters slander. It's just, and it's obviously something that if he's saying it, must have been a thing that was there. But whether him feeling that is concerning, I don't have the exact quote in front of me. That's um, a bad. That's a slap on the ass for me for not doing that right. I should. I've got that much shit in front of me. I just didn't think to get that stat. But to
So
paraphrase,
much time to
yeah,
ruminate.
to paraphrase, he pretty much said that like they weren't quite ready or up for the game. Really, is kind of if you have the exact quote, go for it. But that's kind of how I read it.
I
Was like,
don't. I know someone who's shared it.
would that be
He, he's
someone
been on a
someone that famously played for the New York Yankees or?
yeah, it maybe, yeah. You may be right. He's been on a bit of a tear.
Oh, look, it's after weeks like this. I'm like, you got to let him have those ones sometimes. But yeah.
I do have the quote in front of me. I feel that as a group, we didn't quite believe, and in a showdown that hurts. He said, Zach Butters, that
Mm,
is. I feel like we have to bring a bit more energy, a bit more dare to our game, and as a group, I felt we lacked. And then it's cut off. But you can, yeah,
yeah,
fill that fill
that's
that in
the meat
with
and
anything
potatoes of it.
really.
Yeah.
But like this is the thing, and I don't know why a guy like Butters, who I mean, he
Had a
showed a
great.
lot of belief in his play.
Hmm.
Um, and like I said before, like there was a lot of general play, particularly out of stoppage. Our pressure game, our tackling was up. Like we did well. And that's
Hmm.
why this coming out and fueling the fire, it doesn't make sense to me. Because sure, there were times throughout the game. I thought particularly rebounding out of our back 50, excuse me, we just stopped
Hmm.
sometimes and just allowed them to position themselves perfectly in defense. And it was kind of a thought that was going around my brain in the aftermath and over the weekend. It's like Matthew Nix would just be loving him and his coaching group would be loving setting up for a showdown because they know that they just have to do a few simple things in their structure,
Hmm.
and we'll just play into their hands at the moment. And I felt that that was one of them where we would get the ball either from a behind of theirs, excuse me, or turnover, whatever it was within our defensive 50 or on half back, and we just stopped. Like we
Mm.
didn't really put them under any great pressure going forward on some occasions. And again, it allowed them to set up and we find ourselves bombing it on top of people's heads or not kicking it to our own advantage and it getting rebounded quickly the other way. And they were the ones kind of fast breaking when
Mm.
I don't know, my perception of Port Adelaide at its best is we're the ones doing that shit. We're breaking the lines and we're having a red hot crack go forward.
Mm.
Um, but that timid nature that you mentioned seemed to be in those moments where we had opportunities to keep the play continuous, obviously not haphazardly or just throwing caution to the wind, but keeping it continuous in a professional manner. But we just chose not to for some
Mm.
reason.
Yeah, and it was. I thought it was interesting as well the fact that I noted at one point in the game whether you were a better man than me this week. I just didn't do a replay watch. I had all weekend, and I just decided to play. I bought the this year's baseball video game, MLB The Show, and just decided I finally decided to dive into that and fail miserably at that this weekend and just take my mind off it for a bit. But I dived back into the stats and a bit of stuff today, and I took a fair few notes on the day, but during my watch on the night, I have a note at some point during the game. I just said that, but going both ways, whether it be defensively or offensively, they were they were leading into the contest both as an offensive force as well as they were getting in front of our forwards. Like Marshall had a couple of moments where he was leading into space, but the defender was right on him. I can't remember who the direct defender on Marshall was.
He had a couple. There was
Yeah,
Butts. Um,
they all had great games
Butts a
anyway.
lot of
So.
the time. I think Worrell spent some time on Marshall as well.
Because Keane was definitely, yeah,
Manning
sticking a,
Charlie.
yeah. Um,
Mm.
my brother sent me a fucking. I haven't texted my brother much since the game. He tried
Yeah,
FaceTiming me twice after the game, so I think he was somewhere in on Hindley Street, and I rejected
yeah.
all his calls. I think a
Dave's
text.
family being avid Crow supporters.
Yeah, I think
Those that need reminding.
he texted into the group chat something about from, and I just texted back "fuck off, cunt" and muted the chat. So.
Oh, it's real toys out the cot stuff. I
Yeah,
saw someone wrote um on social media that like losing a showdown is like losing a loved one. You're just in mourning
it
for
is. Yeah.
a sizable time after after it happens. And it summed it up pretty well. Like,
Hmm.
and it's the yeah, watching the replay of any game, it is obviously better to watch it without knee-jerk emotion.
Hmm.
I still, yeah, I watched the first half last night. I watched the second half just before we jumped on, and there
Hmm.
were still times where I was just like, for fuck's sake. But in essence, you're watching it back and you're just going, we did that so well, we did that so well, we did that so well. And how the fuck do we not have the 4 points? Like,
Hmm.
well, and not how the fuck, we all know it's
Yeah,
fucking
I think that.
blindingly obvious, smacking you in the face.
Yeah, I think I've said to you a
Um,
few times before this year already. Like, well, actually, probably not too many times because we've had some decent wins, but a concern to me is like the gap between our best and worst footy, and you kind of saw that within this game. Is like you have some clean possession, some
yeah.
great raking runs out of midfield. You know, winning the stoppage, winning the clearance, even winning the contested ball. I thought our tackling was pretty good. Um, Tackles for the game we were slightly down on, but I thought overall just pressure and everything was decent, as you've said. But then in this one, against Collingwood, it was losing the contested ball and just not being in the contest. In this
Oh,
one,
just being insipid.
it just was not being clean with the ball, and it seems to be an
Yeah.
issue. A lot of games like this is the pressure gets to us really easily, whether it's mental pressure, and then we just talked about the Butters comments. I wonder what the mental preparation, like this is another thing I was just ruminating on over the weekend. Like,
Yeah.
as I said, I didn't touch too much footy content over the weekend, but I was still thinking about it. Like, I'm sitting there taking at bats on on MLB The Show, and I'm still thinking about the showdown. And one of the things I was ruminating on is again, goal kicking coach. If they wanted to do that, I'm fine. Like, I don't care what the team does to try to get better. It doesn't bother me.
Just before you continue on that,
Yeah,
a goal kicking coach would still be factored into the soft cap. Like it's
yeah.
just
So
like they don't
yeah,
come for free.
yeah,
Now I don't run the books at our club, so
yeah.
we may not, I don't know, have room
Well,
for it,
and
but
it depends if the
it
offer is there as a consultant for free, so to speak, maybe. And I don't know how that works either, if you can do that. Um, but my
what, like
thing,
brown paper bag at you.
some teams did pretty well out of it in the
Buy them
past.
a
So
McDonald's restaurant.
yeah. um, my thing I'd rather in at the club at the moment is some kind of mindful, like not that kind of mindfulness training that some clubs have tried in the past after almost getting to the top of the
Yeah.
mountain. But just there is a lot of good mental health, not as mental health, but just mentality and mindfulness
Mental
training out there.
space in
Yeah,
coaching. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
Just
it's,
how, but for the
far as I know,
for the
like every
players and
club,
coaches, yeah.
yeah.
But I assume we do that stuff. It's just what. But this has been a problem for years now in big games. So I don't know what we're doing because
Yeah. Ah,
mentality has been
mm,
something you and I have talked about a lot over the years, even
yeah.
before we were doing the podcast together. But just talking about it in the wake of the 21 prelim and stuff like that, we talked about what are we mentally doing to prepare for these games, and here we are 2.5, 3 years later from that prelim, and we're still talking about the same thing. Like, what are we doing? Because
Mm,
yeah, we're falling apart. So that's my thing
I
is
have no
like,
idea.
yeah, goal
I have
kicking
no idea.
is an issue, but it's, for me, the overall mindset going into these games is far more concerning to me than because I think the goal kicking would come with a better mindset too, because they just seem scared. Like they seem a little bit timid and scared in these games as well,
Oh,
which is a
I mean,
concern.
what was it? What did we hit the post like 4 times or something like that,
Oh, geez, yeah.
and had nine,
That
three hit
fucking.
the post, 9 went to the left, and there was actually 4 rush behinds,
Mhm.
which is kind of a lot more than normal.
There was a couple of those rush. I can't remember the exact moment. I remember that we kind of had a moment in the pocket where I think Darcy Jones had the ball. There was a couple of times where I thought they could take a shot, and they kept on trying to
Oh,
move it in. Yeah, you've just watched the replay a lot more. You've got it fresh in mind. You probably remember
yeah,
the
no,
exact.
I
So
absolutely
that
agree.
I think that
And
was a
it's
rush
moments
behind
like
in the
that.
end, but it was kind of a
Yeah,
miss
just
too.
take the fucking shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. You're fucking 10 meters out. It's like we've just chained handballs, like 5 handballs. We
Mhm.
don't need a 6 to go backwards when you're right there to kick the fucking goal.
Yeah, there's a couple of
Um,
just grubber kicks along the
Definitely
ground
were a
to the
few of
top of the
those
square.
moments.
Yeah, just dumb
Yeah.
shit. Dumb shit. Which,
Um,
yeah.
I
It's a.
just wanted to see
Mhm.
in your yeah, it would be good if we could see like a quarter by quarter team stats because
That's something
oh,
I know. There's a couple of AFL stats guys I follow on Twitter now, whether it's 1%, as a few other guys that have popped up
yeah,
this year. They've talked about like how they wish like they want to see quarter by quarter stats for their stats and analytics as well, because you just
yeah,
don't. I'm sure Champion Data has it, but Champion Data obviously keeps a lot of their stuff
yeah.
under wraps for themselves. But the AFL website just collates it all as a totality after the game.
Because
But I'd really
yeah,
I want
yeah,
to
they do. You
I
can
want to
get
see.
player, yeah.
I want to see that, yeah, because I sometimes think during the game I need to go through and like screen record it after every quarter, but that's just a lot of work. And
Yeah.
again, you'd have to do the math after the game and subtract each quarter from the top. And I'm just like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
we
it's
do
a
we
bit of
do
fucking around, and it
we do
seems
it,
like an easy like IT
yeah. Which
fix
considering like
for nothing.
over here in the US with like because baseball's just analytics heaven. Like there's just everything available to fans if they want it is here for like. So I think it'll be just a side note. This has nothing to do with the game. It'll be good for the AFL for fan engagement because there's a lot of fans out
Yeah,
there these days in the modern game. The
yeah,
modern sports fan loves a good analytics dive. So that would be a good thing to have for us as
yeah.
well. But
And I think what I was getting to was that talking about the mental side of things, and you were more still focusing on the goal kicking in terms of our mental, you know, application. But yeah, I
It
mean,
is it
I
is
thought we
skills as
started.
well around the game, around the ground.
Yeah,
Like there's some timidness in that too. So yeah.
yeah. Once we found ourselves fucking 5 goals, nothing to 2 goals, four behind. But what I was going to say was like I think our endeavor was pretty good in the first quarter.
Mhm.
Um,
Got ourselves
it's
back
just
to 8 points
conversion,
down.
but
Yeah. We
yeah,
got
but what I
ourselves back
will
in the game
say,
pretty well, I think, at the end of the first quarter, considering.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the thing is, a quarter is 20 minutes of game time, not 10.
Mm.
So yeah, let the quarter play out, but to be honest, I think again going back to my opening kind of remarks about some arrogance. And I don't know if this fits in the arrogance basket, but Lockie Jones absolutely got sold out by the coaching team in the setup of this game. Having him line up on Darcy Fogarty was always going to be, I don't know what the word. Well, he was always going to be found out.
Yeah.
And I read some footy breakdowns afterwards. I think it was on the mongrel punt. Like obviously, well, not obviously, but it seems that they wanted to keep Radaglia free to be an interceptor, but
They wanted
we
Radaglia
didn't
to
even
play the Aaliyah
consider.
role. Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't even consider Himmelberg when we did our preview. So they had
Hmm.
three tools, but like
Do Crows
again,
fans
just
consider Himmelberg half the time? I think he gets like bad rap at times,
well,
but like I
well,
don't
no,
even
and
know.
in the end, like he
Yeah.
he again, the mongrel punt made a note of the fact that Ryan Burton was even bodying him out a lot of the time, and he
Hmm.
didn't really have a big impact. So in hindsight, but even not in hindsight, like you've got a big guy, a big lumbering forward who hasn't had a great start to the season. So again, maybe they went, oh, he's not playing well. So we'll just see how Lockie Jones goes on him rather than nailing the matchup so that when the ball's going to their biggest forward,
You've got your
size wise,
mm-hmm,
we've got our biggest defender
bodying
quelling
you.
his influence.
Hmm.
Because Fogarty, like, it's again the Hoskin Elliott thing, like, with against Collingwood. Like, fucking Fogarty's had a shit start to the year. Like, let's make sure that that continues.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
he'd be inside his own
like,
head about it a bit, you'd think.
yeah, and he gets up for a showdown. He had Tom Jonas playing on him, I think in the first showdown last year or some shit like that. Like,
Hmm.
put the biggest, because I thought, like, we're always going to be undersized with Lear down, not bringing Cleary in. I thought the Zerk Thatcher matchup on Walker was probably the best that we were going to get in that regard because
Hmm.
they had Fogarty. And it wasn't until Fogarty kicked, what was it, first 2 goals of the game that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
made the switch. And like, I thought Lockie Jones had a fantastic game
Hmm.
overall, but don't like a guy that hasn't even played 50 games. And fair enough, Fogarty, I don't think has either. But it's just
It,
that was a
yeah.
mismatch from the get-go. And
Hmm.
we find ourselves 2 goals down, under pressure straight away.
And
They
you've given
bang on
them.
another one or two,
Mm.
and it's just like, oh, well, fucking hell, we got to chase the game already. And like you said, to our credit, we hit back quite well.
Yeah,
With
we
Dixon and Marshall Gold, and then we peppered the rest of the quarter.
mm.
But we could have started the game again professionally. Make sure that Fogarty continues his average start to the season by just making sure of it and tick the box. We don't need an interceptor, and anyone can be an interceptor. It doesn't have to be Radaglia.
Well,
Like,
guys like Miles Bergman and co, like he's incredible across that role. Like you
yeah,
need to be
absolutely.
they need to be a little bit more in these situations where you're losing a guy as important to our structure as a Lear. You need to be more brave and outside of the box thinking probably with your matchups because you need to yeah, trying to take because Radaglia and Zach Thatcher have been brought in to kind of add that depth behind Aaliyah as the interceptor. So when Aaliyah's out, don't take away from that. You need to find someone else in that in your defense, you know, whatever magnets you're trying to move around. Yeah, that's because especially the Crows. Yeah, yeah, maybe we underestimated what they could do in the game, but we shouldn't because it's a showdown. As we say, form goes out the window. Form doesn't completely go out the window, but it does somewhat because the Crows do get up for them lately. So, um, Yeah, you got to be better with those matchups because
Mm.
yeah, that was I had that in my notes, just bad start for Lockie Jones, but yeah, it was not completely on him. It was
No,
as you very well
I
put that
don't
it
blame
was.
him at all. And
Yeah,
I think in one of those goals that Fogarty kicked, Jordan Sweet actually had front position
he did. Yeah, that was the
and kind of got
second. Was
bodied
that the
out.
second one where he kind of
Second
has to
one.
snap it around a little bit? But it was kind
Yeah.
of in that spot where you guys are
But
pretty.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like having a Radicalia match up on Fogarty from the get-go doesn't seem out of the box to me. And I
Hmm.
feel like we complicate things for ourselves that we then have to fix on game day.
Yeah,
Like
and it feels
it
like
just
just
seems like a no-brainer. And if Fogarty is having a shit game, then potentially, and we're getting ahead of the game, then potentially think about, maybe risking a little bit more and having not Aaliyah, Radical Leah come off a little bit.
mm.
But when when the scores are 0-0, just keep it fucking simple.
And we
Like,
know how hard at the start of a showdown, an away showdown is if you let the crowd get a crowd
yeah, yeah,
the crowd and
absolutely.
the crowd and the Crows forwards get like a some confidence early. It's going to be a tough game the rest of the way. I mean, not that they like Walker didn't kick a bag, Fogarty didn't kick a bag. As we've said in the stats already, they didn't get a load of forward 50 entries and a big overload on our defense. It's just that they took their opportunities well, and that
Yeah.
kind of that tone was set early, and they like this. Yeah, well, they kicked bunch of the goals in the game were kicked in the first quarter on our end and their end.
Mm.
And that's on us. And as you said, on the matchups to start, because you just want to, you kind of, in a game like this, you want to get out of the first 10 minutes without any real damage. And we let a lot of the damage that ultimately we were chasing the rest of the game get done in those first 10 minutes. It's obviously
Yeah.
compounded by some bad kicking as the game went on. But yeah,
Yeah. And like you said,
the
they
tone
kicked a
was set
couple of
early.
jump
Yeah.
goals at the end, which pushed the margin out.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it doesn't really count for much in the end. But yeah, when the game's there to be won,
Yeah.
um, just keep it simple. Because yeah, I thought once they put Radical Air on Fogarty, like I don't think Fogarty had a terrible game after that point in time.
Mm.
But he didn't kick any more goals as far as I know, and I thought Radical Air impacted the contest reasonably well.
I thought we were reasonably defensive, reasonably in the defensive. Obviously, some high profile moments, as we've already talked about, aside, overall, okay, I think. Not great, but not terrible. It's just it's always compounded by the fact when you lose and you're off. It's kind of like in baseball, they talk about baseball randomly a lot tonight. As I said, put a lot of time into that game to be still terrible at it this weekend. But baseball they often talk about giving the pitcher something to work with, like the pitcher is kind of your defense and defense overall on the field. If the offense isn't, if the pitcher is out there having a great game, and the offense only puts up 1 or 2 runs, then the starting pitcher goes out of the game in the seventh inning, and the relievers give it up, or even if it's just like our defense pitched an okay game, not a great one, but an okay game, but our offense just couldn't keep up with it, and that's where the game gets lost sometimes. But yeah, those matchups early are a part of the story too, and that's on the coaching, more obviously more than the players. They kind of just and that's part of kind of what we're talking about. It's just overthinking a showdown, whereas it seems like the Crows go in with more of a cerebral, just like
Yeah.
we know what we can do, we know our
Mm.
limitations as well.
And to their credit, they have players like Laird, Crouch, and even Dawson who just seem to be laser focused
Mhm.
in a game like this. Whereas our mindset is just,
It's
yeah, seems a lot
been
more erratic.
it's been fucking
Um,
terrible last few years, really. Beyond. I mean, even in 2020, that showdown in front of 2,000 people was fucking fantastic. That's the one outlier. The ones in 2021, I think the first our home showdown was a
First
bit of a
one, yeah,
it was
was
a
a struggle
bad,
for a half, and then
and then we won by
I think,
48 points, I think. Yeah,
yeah, was it? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But then the second one was that the one where we
yeah.
had
The one
to
I brought up, yeah,
last
last
week,
week. Yeah,
and
it
showdown
was
wins a showdown win.
an
Fuck
arm
yeah, and
wrestle.
then yeah, and then obviously we have the Dawson goal one the next year, which was again a game that we had
In
almost
our
wrapped up a
clutches.
couple of times and just let them back in. And bad kicking a little bit.
And a bad free kick by Sam Mays. Bro,
Yeah,
brain
Jesus.
fade of the highest order.
I
Allowed them
Jesus,
that shot at goal.
watching that game at Stockwell Pub, I stormed out.
We're not we're not just ruminating over the most recent showdown. We're
Yeah, but
ruminating over.
it's mindset over a period of time, and the fact that we just seem to, in a time when we've often been the better team, we just the mindset and the application and the way the
Yeah.
coaching has gone into the game, everything. It's a symbiotic relationship, as Obi-Wan tries to tell the Gungans in the Phantom Menace. I just went and saw that tonight. The Gungans and the Naboo have a symbiotic relationship. Surely you see that. So should the coaches and the players, and their preparation needs to be better in this space. We've got it. I mean, we'd be absolutely remiss if we didn't talk about it. Obviously the Rozee gamble that you and I think when we were recording last week and doing the preview, we
We
brought. I
basically
think
factored him out.
we did. And I think during our recording, I saw the notification that he has been cleared as available. And we both kind of went, like kind of
Yeah.
just pulled at the collar, like this doesn't seem like a good idea.
Ew.
And it clearly, I find it really intriguing. This isn't defensive, that I find it absolutely indefensible that they went with. I still want to know the ins and outs of who was involved in all the decision making. It's just so weird. But the way he was moving at times, he clearly was restricted, but he didn't look in pain either. Like sometimes he'd do a turn and a little
No.
move in the
I
stoppage.
actually
And
thought his first quarter was pretty good, to be
yeah,
fair.
I thought
And up
early
till
in the,
half time, he was having a pretty good game, I
I think
thought.
I think there's a tweet in my drafts that says, "Oh, I think Rosie's fine." But then I just thought, no, I'm going to hold off. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to hold off on that until the end of the game, and then clearly it does seem like a weird injury because it doesn't seem, because guys can't move as well as he was at times with us with the traditional hamstring. I don't think it
No.
was mentioned at one point that it was a nerve thing, but I heard
It's a
Geneva.
quandary.
Yeah, I heard Geneva was on the. I can't remember if it was on the night of or the morning after on David and Will, those fucking idiots that just um but I just hate how fucking smug
You
they are
said
after a
it,
game
but
like
you were thinking
that.
it.
um he kind of just said he told a story of when I think he was talking, who was he talking about? One of the Port player back when John Cahill was coaching, and the doctor would say, "Look, he shouldn't play," and Cahill would look at the player, and the player would say, "Yeah, I'm fine." The doctor would say, "No, he's not," and Cahill would say, "No, he's going to be fucking fine." And then the doctor, he said he'd watched Cahill and the doctor just get into these big barnstorming arguments, and eventually Cahill would
You
have to
can
back
picture
down.
that.
Yes, Cahill would back down and be like, "Okay, he's not playing." But then it seems like the medical team cleared Rozee too, so that kind of takes out. Geneva's thing was just basically just like it doesn't make sense, and he was frustrated by it. I think a lot of Port fans, you and I, are definitely frustrated by it. It to me, and again, you and I don't bash Hinkley. We try to be constructively critical. For me, him coming out after the game, I respected his contrition. First of all, I'll say that that's just completely owning it and not trying to make an excuse is a good thing, but I think if we're going to talk about his experience as a coach and try to be positive at times, that was a moment, I think, as 12 years as a head coach, 12, 11, 12, whatever it's been at this point, his years as a head coach, he should be better about making that decision. He should have the experience to know, hey, just look, even if everyone's clear, he clearly had something there. If people are telling you this, and Rozee, some people have said, I think I saw a poll someone did, maybe SEN did it, like who's to blame, coach, should Rozee have made the decision? I think most people actually voted for it's on Rozee. I don't think he has a history of these kind of injuries. So he's 24, he's the captain, he probably feels a bit of pressure himself. I put the blame more on the people around him at the club. I think he's going to put his hand up. I think that's kind of the player he is. Um, I yeah, I think my internet was cutting out a little bit there for a second, but my point being, I get that Rozee maybe should have been a bit more cognizant of his body, but I think he's a young player and he's going to learn from this. the reason you have coaching and staff at a club is to it's, you know, in soccer you call them managers. It's to manage. You're managing a team, not just in game day. It's managing the whole holistic operation of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a tough one to defend, and I'm not going to defend it. I just think it's a massive miss. You and I, as I led in with this, talked about it last week that we just don't see him playing the game. He somehow did, and it's blown up for us. And if he'd missed last week and missed the showdown and we'd lost it wouldn't be a storyline. We'd be like, yeah, well, he wasn't healthy, so it's not a factor. But now he's played it, been subbed out, we lost it anyway, and now he's unavailable for Geelong. Whether he'd be available, who knows how it would have gone. But the fact is, he's more likely to have been available this week. If he'd missed the game, and now we're gonna, you know, lose him this weekend as well as lose him. And he was clearly like it limited our game right from the start, probably, even though he looked okay to start with. He still was missing. He missed a couple of kicks, was a little less explosive when it came
Yeah,
to
first shot on goal.
Yeah.
Which was a behind. Surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough one. And I
I have a lot of thoughts.
I'm pretty frustrated by it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it took a lot not to kind of jump in there. I wanted you to have your space to talk, but it just in the aftermath, it now just reeks of desperation when it was totally unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke at length in our preview show about how we have the midfield depth, quite obviously all in pretty reasonable form,
Mm-hmm.
and we could absolutely cover not having Connor Rozee there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you miss him, but there's cover.
Of course, he's the captain, and for me, it just kind of seemed like they were hell-bent on promoting his first game as captain in a showdown.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, now it reeks of a bit of desperation, and so things that popped up in my mind in terms of injuries. So even this year, we were cautious with HORNE-FRANCIS with his hamstring, and we kept him out for 2 weeks. We were cautious with Ollie Wines, and kept him out and brought him back. Last year, Todd Marshall got concussed twice in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So we gave him 2 weeks off as opposed to the mandatory 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
But now this gets packaged in with the Aaliyah and Lockie Jones mistake in the last year's showdown where, Port aren't doing their due diligence and taking risks and blah, 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 when there are enough examples to say that we have been cautious, even in recent times with injuries. So it just makes this decision even more bewildering. And look, like Ken said, and I saw some vision from training, and for all that has been said and done, he did look like he was moving quite well in these isolated tests. But it's just a risk that didn't need to be taken. Like, you've just had our midfield, like I said, is in pretty good form. You've got Butters, Drew, Wines, who's coming into some good form again. You've got Mead and Bergman. Burgoyne and Bergman, and then you've had Mead come on for a half and probably played one of his best halves of the year as a sub against St Kilda. And it just seemed like instead of having the opportunity to go, it's Connor's first showdown as captain, you've got the opportunity to go to a young guy breaking into the midfield and go, you're getting a whole fucking game because you've been in such good form. And now that got taken away from him in the hopes that Rozee would play a whole game. And then he didn't. And now we look like fucking idiots because of it. And what I will say is that I don't think it lost us the game. Like, I don't think Connor Rozee being subbed off, being hampered, and it looked like he jarred, was it his other knee or other leg?
I thought that at the time too. I thought it seemed like he just was, but whether that's a side note kind of issue of what he's dealing with, because, you overcompensating different things, but he just, he did start looking. And one of the other things, actually, I'll let you finish.
I'm pretty much done. I was just going to finish on the fact that, like, I don't actually think it caused us to lose the game. Like,
no. I think it's just
Like
more it
we
comes
quite
into that.
simply didn't kick
Yeah.
goals. Like that is seems to me as the overwhelming reason why we didn't. But this just
Mm.
adds another layer of embarrassment to the night.
It's part of the whole
Um,
preparation issue as well, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
what are we doing to plan for? Because you and I, again, like we said, we went into last week preview just talking about Connor not being a factor, and then when we saw he's available, my thing would have been, hey, say he's okay and could be good for this week, but we're going to rule him out as a because it also makes a hypocrite of all the conversations we had last year. You know, Ken's own comments at times about premierships aren't won in the middle of the year, June, July, May, whatever. The May being what was it, April? No, it was May 1st. The game. I'm trying to think what day it is today. Um,
yeah.
but it makes it because we Ken has talked about in the past, and the club have talked about building into the season, building up, the season in blocks, building towards the end of the season to be in your tip top form. This completely contradicts that kind of statement by taking a risk with your young first year captain who's so important to what you want to do later in the year as a break, like just a player that is all Australian caliber. And a few weeks ago after that Essendon game was being lauded across the league. It's just you don't take this kind of risk in May. That's with the player's fitness. And yeah, you can say all the tests and stuff like that, but we took a precaution. Jason Horne-Francis a few weeks ago, people were like, yeah, he could probably play, but we taken it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they
that's what I
did
mean.
they've changed their tune within 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, or a month or whatever it was. Um,
It's just I saw someone write on social media about like how Max Holmes in 2022 was good to go for all intents and purposes for Geelong leading into the
mm,
grand final. But at the end of the day, they went, we've got a grand final to win.
mm,
So sorry, but we can't take that risk. And obviously, within SA, like we were talking about leading up to it, like obviously a showdown feels like a final. We weren't going into a grand final.
mm.
Still doesn't make it like any less important to just sit on the side of caution. And just give him a break, because when you're looking at the season objectively, the showdown and Geelong away are two just as important games as one another, really,
Mm.
when you take emotion out of it. So yeah, we had the opportunity, like I said, to give our midfield a crack without him, give him a rest, and have him fit and firing for Geelong away, which is
Mm.
hard enough to win any year. But now he is going to miss this game. And like, I mean, I still believe we have the midfield depth, and we'll talk about it a bit later, but
Mm.
it's just topsy-turvy world, and it's just something that didn't need to happen and makes us look even more like second rate in the aftermath.
Yeah, yeah, that's really what it is. It's just it for the opposition, obviously, the banter battle with the showdown is part of it, and you just I got off Twitter fairly well after an hour or two after the game. I just didn't touch the account much after that, but
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, well, I was sitting up. I was for a while. I was just keeping an eye on things and just you kind of I like to chat with anyone that's popping a mention in there. So and I appreciate everyone that
Oh, of course.
chats with
Yeah.
us on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, after that, I was just like, yeah, I'm done with. So, but yeah, there was a lot of people like, oh, look at what, because it adds to just, and it is indefensible. Like, there's nothing I can say to like, whether it's not just Crow's accounts, but any account that's jumping up and down, going, look at what Porter doing, those fucking idiots. Like, risky
Mm,
captain, like it was obvious, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, I can't say anything to that because we think the same thing. We're obviously not going to make jokes about it, but we're pretty frustrated by it too. So
yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
all in all, it was like the cherry on top of a shit sandwich in just everything that we had to consider out of that game. Yeah, it's yeah, I found it quite. It's one of those. It's not even rock. It's not a rock and hard place or hindsight's 2020 thing. It's like we all saw it in the middle of the week, like, and especially that's the other thing. I was trying to think of it as we were talking, just to finish off on it. Ken himself, like, tied the noose, with his comments in the media with
About
his
taking risks.
Well, like he's saying, oh, any of the doomsayers out there saying we're
Yeah.
taking risks, we're not. Like, and then it comes out that you are. So don't say that shit and then have to deal like if you're gonna say that stuff, don't be like, and then
Oh,
and it's
oh man.
yeah, there's a bad week for like again, you and I are ones that try to be constructively critical with the coaches, and we will continue to be, until they change, and then we'll do the same thing with the next coaching group, and that's the way it'll be. But
Yeah, that's how football
but
goes.
yeah, between Chad on the radio having a crack at fans about, and it wasn't as bad as what some people tweeted it about, but he kind of just, was defending McEntee, and good on him for
He
doing
wasn't
that.
attacking anyone. He just said about his frustration.
Yeah.
Chad Corns.
And I don't mind what he said as much, like, because I saw the comments and people were like, oh, Chad talking about the white noise again. I was like, when I listened to it, I was like, it's not that bad. But because people can latch onto it and make it what they want it to be, um,
So just on that white noise comment, because it's bugged me for so long. My
it's
interpretation of David Koch and the white noise comment was in reference to the media,
mm,
not the fans. That's how I interpreted it at the time, and that's how I've interpreted it ever since. But yeah, that obvious section of the Port Adelaide fan base has obviously interpreted it as they're the white noise and the
mhm.
fans are the white noise. And I don't know what, like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you like, it's a while ago now, and it's obviously
I
been
think that was
blown
like
out of
three.
proportion.
Yeah. I think it's
I
poorly
can't even
chosen.
remember what it was in reference to, like at the time,
I can't
that David
either.
Koch said those comments.
It is funny how
I think
much
it was in 2022 after our 0-5 start and
it
pressure
might
on
have been.
Ken or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
can't even recall it, to be honest myself. I just know it's a thing out there now.
yeah,
I
but now
remember
with
I think
yeah, sorry,
all of
yeah,
it's like stuff that I've listened to and been like, yeah, like the problem is because you can latch on to if it's vague in any sense, if you because I think the
yeah,
comments were about media and criticism, and
and they go,
possibly
oh well, we're criticizing, so we must have been the white
and
noise.
possibly they were
Yeah,
talking about negative fans, which some fans out there do take it too far in their personal attacks on and calling.
that's
That's the
another point
problem.
that I was going
Yeah,
to raise is that like
because I don't
that's
like
where
that stuff.
we try and draw back, like you said, being constructive in criticism, and no one's immune from criticism, but
Hmm. You
there's
and
a
I,
lot of
yeah,
personal shit that gets thrown around, and like again, there's a lot of dim people in the world, but football's entertainment, and
mm,
like it's a passion and a religion, and some people want to call it, but like I don't fucking know these people, like, and but like Ken Koshi, Jed McEntee, I don't know any of them, so what, like,
mm,
it's that's what gets me is that there's a lot of very personal shit that starts getting flung around, and whether you like Jed McEntee or respect his position aside, like he doesn't pick himself. He's
yeah,
not going to go, nah, I don't want to play this week. And yeah, like Chad Corns, I listened to it live, and like, yeah, he wasn't going, the fans don't know shit, so shut the fuck up.
mm,
He just said, I'm frustrated at how our fans treat Jed because they obviously don't watch behind the goal vision and everything else that he said. And
yeah,
he's right. We
yeah,
don't know what he's been asked to do. We don't have behind the goals vision. Like, I would agree that he's not setting the house on fire, but there's no need to get fucking personal, like, or take
mm.
it personally,
Yeah, and say
either.
because I've seen people be like, "Oh, what photos of Ken has Jed got?" Like that's just dumb commentary. Like I get that that some people do take it.
It's a
Yeah,
running, yeah,
yeah.
football
But then
fandom
what's funny is like this time last year when Jed broke into the side and we were having a good little run for a bit there. He was when
was the
he
key,
and
yeah.
he signed that
He
2 year contract.
epitomized
Yeah, he signed that 2 year contract extension. No one complained at the time. So it's just people do change it. Yeah, it is fickle how it can change
fickle.
week to week. But that's the problem. Like the underlying part of the some of the criticism is often stuff like I'll agree with in general, but it's like when you go too far into the personal side, it's like no, let's just talk about football and leave people's families and personalities out of it unless they've given you a reason to. There's certain football players in the league that have brought criticism about who they are on themselves, and that's I'm not going to name names, but that's just part of their story now. But unless people have
Yeah.
brought that upon themselves with very obvious actions that are indefensible, well, then there's not much it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, it was just more of a bad, particularly Ken's comment. Yeah. As I was talking about Chad's, I was like, already, it's just like, oh, yeah, I listened to it and it wasn't as bad. But the problem is every time unless you choose your words very carefully, which I think actually Chad's weren't too bad, but again, the fan base is so pent up with frustration because of these
Yeah.
kind of games as well.
These games, no
It doesn't
success,
it
no
doesn't
change.
it doesn't
Yeah.
take much to latch onto something and make it a thing, and because people just go with stuff on Twitter, then it snowballs. And but yeah, Ken's comment was pretty on the nose as well, and especially in hindsight, it's just it was a bad week in every facet of it. Is there anything else in the totality of the game and in general that you wanted to touch on? I've been scrolling through my notes as I've been chatting. Apart from, I did note just as a fun note that you brought up the mongrel punt before, but their tweet they keyed in on one. I actually had to watch it back. I just didn't notice it live, but there's an interesting note about the interpretation of tackles and what players are being rewarded for. They tweeted about McHenry dropping the ball after Burgoyne just kind of didn't take him
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
ground.
It's an
And
interesting thought
yeah, this is nothing to do with the
for
game at
what
all,
they were
really.
talking about. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mongrel
It was
punt
just yeah.
addressed it. Yeah.
Um,
Like the league doesn't want you to dump, but when you don't dump a player on the ground,
yeah,
they get
if you're kind
like,
of just holding him like a teddy bear and they just
yeah, they can just,
illegally dispose the ball and no calls made, then it's just like, well, okay,
yeah,
so I need to take the player to the ground,
yeah.
which
So you
then
know that, yeah.
yeah. So I just had that in my notes and thought I'd bring that up. It's an interesting one. Yeah, just as we continuously watch on with curiosity as to how the AFL handles dangerous tackles and the like. It's yeah, it was an interesting one. I thought it was good for them to bring that up. Actually, I think that's just good discourse. Wasn't attacking anyone. It was just basically asking the question, what are we doing here? Yeah, well, I did say way to show duty of care, umps, but that is the question you ask out of a situation like that. So, but
Yeah, I
beyond,
mean,
yeah,
yeah, I could, yeah, I have another couple of things here, but it's just going over fucking predictable
no, no,
pattern
go anything you've got with,
bullshit.
yeah,
No, well, no, just the fact that like the longer the game went, our um strategy to go forward was obviously to just bomb the ball, but the
mhm.
longer the game went, it seemed the higher we kicked in the air as opposed to penetrating forward, which was just a huge frustration. And again,
Yeah,
nothing new. Which yeah, my next point was that we would get up. Yeah, I said it before. We get it on half back or center wing, and instead of looking for the next possession on the half forward flank, which would then take us deep and improving our expected score chances,
mm,
yeah, we're just fucking bombing it shallow. And some of our forwards gained some criticism for playing behind, seemingly playing behind. But again, watching it back, a lot of the time was because we were kicking it to them from the half back line when
mhm.
they're trying to set up for a deeper push forward, where that they can actually use their forward craft to start behind and either lead laterally or circle back. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Is like our
and
structure
it
going
makes
inside 50
it,
is
yeah,
delivery and stuff is where we're left wanting a lot.
it
Yeah,
made it look like our forwards were out of position. And of
mm,
course they were on some occasions, but some of those times where, and Todd's copped a bit, but even
mm,
Charlie and Mitch, they were behind because the ball was getting kicked to them too early.
mm.
Like we was we were supposed to, and any team that is on would look for the chip kick 20 meters, 25 meters up the field to then kick it to the forwards who would be in much better position, but they had to continually come at the ball out of position because our halfbacks and midfielders on a lot of occasions were just going, oh, I'm under pressure now, or not even like still had room to move, but just decided, oh, I'm going to dump it forward and same old story. It got repelled, we got turned over and got scored against generally. Or we gave away a free kick because we were out of position and under pressure, which is ill-disciplined as well. That was very frustrating on the night, but
yeah, I didn't have much issue with
some of these little bits we've already spoken about, so I won't sit on it too long. And yeah, it's nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I haven't had much issue with the umpiring. I think there was a couple of those, but in AFL games of football that we can see replay so easily in high definition and everything, there's always going to be a little bit of that. There was nothing egregious enough either way for me to be that angry about it. And yeah, definitely, I don't think I saw much about it on Twitter, to be honest, either. So it's I think fans were pretty cognizant of the fact the umpiring didn't have any issues there. So I always like to.
No,
we will occasionally when we do see egregious, because there has been a couple of games this year that we have brought it up. This wasn't one of them, so we'll give the umpires their due there. All right, so you're ready to get into the segments for the week?
Sure, let's do it.
Can't wait to get to the goal of the week. There was so many. We should have done behind of the week, actually. Travis Spoke wins that one because fucking hell, that was
okay. Yeah, well, I was gonna say I might already.
That's the goal of the week if the arc wasn't fucking working.
Yeah, can we just turn it off for that moment?
Yeah,
turn off the edge technology.
It's funny, the Two Guys One Cup podcast are talking about it. Will Anderson and Charlie Clausen, they were just talking about the goal umpiring thing a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, they talk about it in kind of a stoner-esque cadence, and they were like, what should we do to fix this? What if we do like it's just the home team captain's call to kind of like India? When India a few years ago went doing not DRS, the review system because they didn't believe in it in cricket.
Yeah,
they kind of were like
they
were kind of like
they
were kind of like let's just leave it up to the captains for the game. I was just like, I wish we'd had that, but we probably would have chosen to use it and then not used it and then had it fuck us over. So But yeah, Spotlight will go with to start with for the segments for this week. And I've got first this week on this and a couple of the segments. So my spotlight, my positive spotlight, I can't remember if I've done him this year at all. I don't think I have. I should have actually gone, but I have my notes for every week. I could have just gone through and looked, but I just wrote it down and then left it. But if I have said it already, then that's probably a good thing. But Ollie Wines, I think, has been just a consistent. Considering we've talked about it a bit that he's not the key bull in the midfield anymore. He's obviously, he's still getting a fair bit of minutes with how we're kind of messing around with the structure in there and what mixes we're using. But I thought he had a pretty good game. He'll just a hint at the 5-4-5-3-1 votes later on. He'll be in mine. And yeah, so I'll talk about the stats later, but I just wanted, he's been, considering he's been maligned, obviously with injuries last year and just never got into a good block of footy last year. And even though we were playing pretty well, he was kind of in and out a little bit as far as his form goes. But I think he's been a real plus point to our side this year. I think his actually ball use has been better than sometimes people traditionally think of an Ollie Wines user as well. Obviously, ball use overall
he kicked it to Todd for our second goal, didn't he? It was a free kick in the end.
Yeah.
That was a sublime kick by Wines.
Yes.
To put the defender under pressure.
I didn't realize it was him actually. It was a dangerous penetrating kick, as you were just talking about 5 minutes ago, that we sorely missed a lot in the game.
Eluded us after that.
I just think his overall game, he's obviously contested beast in this game again, and just tackling as well was big in this one, and I just overall across the year so far, and in a game that he was one of the few. There was actually, as we've touched on reviewing the game, there was a fair few that actually application in the game was okay. It's just a lot of skills around the ball and everything. But I just wanted to bring him up as one that not one of the obvious choices, but just as a watch for the next few weeks and the last few weeks. I've just been reasonably happy with Ollie Wines' game, considering he's in a different stage of his career than he was a few years ago when he won the Brownlow for us. He's not playing pretty happy with what he's doing. Considering, obviously just the overall structure of the team's a little bit fucky at the moment after a game like that. But yeah, pretty happy with.
Yeah.
Can't be too disappointed. I'd obviously like to see a lot more out of all of them, but yeah, he's going okay.
Yeah, and I don't expect him to be in Brownlow medal winning form.
He's not 35, 36 disposals a game anymore. Like or
No.
having those kind of games as he did. That's just not his role now. He's not going to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
those
yeah. And
possessions.
I don't think many of our players have cracked the 30 this season thus far.
Certainly not 35 to 40. I don't think we've had too many of those.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
possessing the ball a little bit less, I feel.
hmm Yeah, we're down.
But
We're
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, and he made his way into our votes earlier in the season.
hmm
Again, we were cautious with his hamstring. We gave him the week off. He came back a little bit slow against Collingwood. Again, I was one that criticised him in terms of his leadership.
hmm
But yeah, I think his last 2 weeks have been, yeah, great,
hmm
fantastic. I agree with everything that you've said.
hmm
Um, again, he's one of the senior heads. He's a veteran now. He may be not in any official leadership role, but he is
On
without a doubt one of our most important leaders, I feel, from a
spiritual
team
leader.
point of view. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so yeah, I don't have too much to add because yeah, as you alluded to, he'll be in your votes and he'll definitely be in mine. So just kind of expand on that a little bit more.
hmm
But yeah, good one. Good one to choose from. And I hope now, because he's had a good preseason where that has eluded him the 2 previous years.
hmm
Uh, and now he had the hamstring. So I just hope that for the rest of the year, it's fairly unimpeded because that's when, like I feel for Ollie, yeah, the continuity may actually result in some like barnstorming performances
Yeah, because we know what he's
and
capable
hopefully
of.
in some
Yeah.
important games.
Yeah. Particularly
Um,
this week will be a real good one for that. With Rozee
very interesting.
completely out of the picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My spotlight is on Miles Bergman
hmm
this week. It's so I had him as a watch earlier in the season,
hmm
but this is a bit of a quandary for me, Miles Bergman. So when Aaliyah went down, he got shifted back, played fantastically well, and it looks like I just looked at his heat map while you were talking,
hmm
and it looked like he was pretty much split between halfback and a wing, but he's such a good insertion into our defensive mix that the quandary is that everyone knows he wants to play on the wing. But when
hmm
you have a player like him who is so valuable in a different position, how do you manage that? I don't think ego is the right word because I think Miles is a fairly level-headed person.
hmm
How do you manage that when a player's desire is one way, but his most effective position is in another spot?
hmm
Because yeah, he's such a great overhead mark, his defensive positioning and just his effort. I don't know whether, again, because our defense seems to be having to absorb a lot of pressure. He seems to be involved more since kind of being around there.
hmm
Excuse me. But he had a fantastic game, and like I kind of feel that I want him in defense because I
Yeah.
feel that we can supplement the wing a bit better, and the defense actually allows him to impact the game more and play to his strengths.
Yeah. It's
So yeah, it's like it's just an interesting,
it's a
yeah, little,
it's a conundrum.
yeah, it's a little bit of a conundrum. Yeah, how they manage that for the rest of the year because I don't think you can keep him out of the defense when he performs that well in that
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Um,
especially when you've got,
So
especially when and then you add in the added quandary, like Jace has come in and started to play pretty well, and he can play
yeah,
wing role, and so yeah, you're kind of juggling a couple of magnets now with the fact that Jace has
yeah.
made himself somewhat of a, Jace didn't come up much today because again the game was just wasn't the one for Jace, but he still had an okay game I think considering. But um,
They've parked Boak forward, who again
mhm,
was part of that wing mix to begin the
yeah,
season. Drew started the year on a wing, and that seems to have reduced a little bit
mhm.
recently. Um, but yeah, I just think we can cover that position
And yeah, it's
to
funny as
only
you
improve another area of the ground for us.
particularly one that we
Um,
need some movement and mark like because you've got the bodies now there to body up some defenders, but you need some class, above head marking and
yeah,
stuff like this.
yeah,
Particularly Miles is. You were talking about just how you feel good with him down there. I was just thinking of like the Grey Cricketer podcast talking about just safety when guys make them
yeah.
feel.
Cameron Green, yeah,
Yeah,
just offering safety. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you feel
and
nice and comfortable.
yeah, Miles Bergman's the safety guy. Like, just makes me feel
Yeah.
safe. I just feel
Well,
safe
and to
when it
go
like
back,
if he's
yeah,
floating
go.
across a contest and he's got his arms above his head, I'm just like, I'm good.
Mark.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
safety fall.
Mark.
Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
he's gonna take it. So yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, just to kind of cut to the chase a little bit too. I mean, he had what was it, 10 marks?
I had eight.
Eight
Eight.
marks.
I had eight written
Yeah,
down. Yeah, because
eight marks.
he's in
Yeah.
my votes as well. It's
I'm
another
thinking of Ollie
hint
One's
to
10 tackles, but yeah,
yeah,
we can get into the stats later. But
yeah.
yeah, so just to go back on my Asava Lockie Jones on Fogarty point earlier,
Mm.
Miles, he's not a tall defender, but he can intercept marks. So
The arms are
yeah,
up there. Yeah.
you start Asava on Fogarty, Zerk Thatcher on Walker, and Himmelberg can go fuck himself. Like, who gives a fuck about that guy?
I think half the
And
Crows
yeah,
fans say the same thing.
Bergman can be the interceptor
Mm.
that they started out wanting radically to be. It's just another
You just develop.
frustration from the game.
I think I
And
just watched
everything
you
in
develop a
hindsight is,
migraine.
yeah.
Like in the moment, you were just like, "Oh my god, they could have done this," and you just a migraine just developed
Well, I
in
mean, yeah,
instantaneously.
hindsight's 2020. Like, yeah, all of this shit could have, should have, and would have worked
Yeah.
had our coaching group and selection panel actually just kept it simple
Yeah.
and had a but yeah,
I
for
was thinking
those
of.
that don't know, yeah, I moved house over the weekend and
Mm,
just was distracting on Thursday night. There was parts of it live that I didn't have the pleasure in quotations to
let's
watch.
see. I think it
But
was
yeah,
a
now as a
pleasure.
result of moving, I'm feeling a little run down. So yeah, I'm not far from a migraine.
Yeah,
Um,
he's doing well to be on this podcast and perform like as good as ever because I know that you've had as anyone that's listening knows when you're moving house, um, especially you you've got a young child as well, and
yeah.
which adds just an extra element to it, which obviously
I'm feeling pretty average, but yeah,
you
yeah,
wouldn't know
watching.
if you hadn't said it, and then obviously the occasional cough is, but yeah, no, otherwise you're
Yeah.
still at your you're at a good level, which is just it's kind of like your Jordan flu game right now, having to
Yeah,
perform
yeah, I mean, yeah,
the um
yeah, doing some hard yards, but yeah, your comment on developing a migraine, just yeah, yeah, I'm nearly there.
yeah, we'll try to get through it. My one to watch on the more I'm a little bit concerned side is after a good start of the season, and he's featured in the positive spotlight to watch earlier.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I wonder if you know where I'm going by saying that, but
No, I don't.
um, Darcy Byrne-Jones has been
Oh,
completely off
okay,
from the
yeah,
start,
right.
and he wouldn't. It's not goal scoring alone, because
Yeah, wow.
it's
I
not.
like totally like cancelled him off the bottom. Like he's at the bottom of whatever list I've got here. I just
Mm. He just,
blanked.
but there was a few. He's had some disposal issues the last few weeks, some kind of clanger issues that have been quite glaring. Just watching the game, I haven't even looked at his clanger stats and just general ball use stats. It's just eye test. I've been, yeah, this game, there was a few, I even had it in my notes. I can't remember what the situation was. I just had, what the fuck, DBJ, somewhere in my, in quarter one, just my fourth note of quarter one was DBJ decision making. Come on, lad. So I don't know what that was in reference to, but that was just, that kind of speaks to
Mm,
just, there's something I'm seeing in what he's doing in his decision making. Um, that isn't vibing with what he was, because earlier in the year he was both obviously kicking goals, great, like that's a plus point, but he was also contributing to the forward structure, and he's
yeah,
getting handballs, whether it's in the stoppage or the contest in the forward 50, getting handballs out. He's contributing to goals, whereas the last few weeks he kind of seems to have lost his position. He's still there. It's just like he's lost his positional sense of what he's meant to be doing down there. Um, and
yeah, and
again,
I think
sometimes that
yeah,
comes from the overarching issues that the entire team is having on the field. So it's not completely him, but when you're having issues, you want you kind of, he's a more senior guy in this team now at this point. He's changed roles, and he flourished at the start of the year, and we thought he'd be on for a really good year. As we said, I think after 3 or 4 weeks, we were like, yeah, he's
talking
top.
all Australian.
Well, and we were saying, yeah, top 10,
I made that comment.
yeah, yeah. It was, yeah. Could he be all Australian forward after being a backman like what 3 4 years ago?
Yeah.
But we were talking, yeah, half joking because he's never going to win the Coleman. We were saying he's up there like after a few weeks. So,
At one point,
but
yeah.
yeah, he's just the last. I think last week I kind of watched and just was like, oh, okay, he's dropped off the boil a little bit, and then this week there was just a couple of decision making things again.
Yeah, yeah. Like
it's
that shot on goal that, yeah, he could have taken.
Yeah,
And
and then
yeah, it's that delicate
I think he
balance.
missed one that he was dobbing earlier in the year as well, because he was pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think he had a snap on goal, which was fairly straightforward. I
What
think
did
it
he?
was like in front of goal. I think he had a snap, but
There was a few that they're just hooking,
shanked it.
hooking too much a little bit. But yeah, he's
Yeah,
just, it's not, it's, yeah, again, it's not like absolutely like I'm shitting on DBJ. It's just like he has dropped right off of the level, the really nice standard he had at the start of the year. He was a real plus point to that forward line and a real linchpin of it. And now he's just kind
yeah,
of dropped off. And as I said, I don't know what, again, my notes I keep just to remind me of the vibes I had during the game. And my vibe was, what the hell are you doing, lad? I guess is what I was saying in my notes. So it's just
yeah,
something in the game
yeah. I
was, there was some
can't think
decision
if
making.
it's in the first quarter. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
there was something
struggling to
early.
think.
There was something early that I don't know what he did, and it might have been even some of that's trying to handball the ball through the goal kind of shit that was happening at times. But yeah, just I think he's gotten a little bit timid in his decision making, whereas he was really quite good at the start of the year. So I'm really keen to see that correct itself again. So that's my
Yeah,
watch for
and
the
I
week.
suppose with Sam Pepper being out now for the rest of the season,
Hmm.
I think what we've spoken about, obviously, while SPP was suspended as well, is all the small forwards and the forward group as a whole all need to lift in terms of the pressure that they're putting on forward, because it's obviously a highly influential part of SPP's game. And yeah, I just had a look, and his pressure acts are still up there. I think what's that, seventh for port players, but
Hmm.
no tackles and no tackles inside. Yeah, no tackles inside 50 and no tackles whatsoever. So
Hmm.
that'd be something that he'd probably be pretty disappointed about, because again, they all need to lift in the absence of SPP, who was coming into some,
Hmm.
good form.
Yeah, I thought he was really
So I
looking.
guess, yeah, goal opportunities, yeah, they're great, but the position that he plays, lay some fucking tackles,
Hmm.
like, yeah, have a bit more of an impact. So yeah, looking at it, I think I've probably kind of been, yeah, his start to the year has kind of given him a bit of credit in my mind, and
Yeah,
but now that you say that, it is
there was
pretty
something in
fair.
this game that just made me like he was immediately my choice, and
Yeah,
like I said, it's purely vibes based
yeah.
because
No, no, no.
I
Well,
didn't
yeah.
watch
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
looking at it, like he's a small forward, and look again, we talk about our entries
Hmm.
forward not benefiting fucking anyone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no tackles, and you're a
Yeah.
pressure
And
supposed to be a
unfortunately,
pressure
he's
forward.
yeah, he's one of those players that just stands out sometimes in those aspects when his game
Games
drops
like
off.
that.
Unfortunately, he does just to make those mistakes at times with disposal when he's just not in his. There's players that when they're in good form or bad form, their meter doesn't change too much. Like you don't notice too much either way, or you notice when they're in good
Mhm.
form. But Darcy Byrne-Jones just unfortunately, and he's made a scapegoat because of it. I'm not trying to do that, but he has, objectively he has dropped off as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, had
So he'll
to
be looking to
just wanted to
recapture
bring it.
that.
Yes, and I trust he can because I really like what he's brought to that forward line. So I'd just like to see it come back.
Yeah. Well, knowing that the start of the year, that's there. So the quicker
Yeah.
you can get back to that, the better,
hmm
because that's valuable.
hmm
Um,
This weekend would be dope.
it would be, yeah, dope. Um, my watch for the second week in a row is Todd.
hmm
Now again, I rewatched it. I actually think that he did actually get himself in front of his defender on more occasions than what people are alluding to. Um, but I heard an interview with someone, I think it was. Oh, that was basically talking about his preseason or lack thereof, because he obviously had the hip injury at the end of
Mm.
last season.
Yeah.
He got surgery. I think maybe he had a setback or two, which seems to be common when players have surgery.
hmm
But he didn't have a very good preseason. So my thing is that if he's underdone, or if he's not quite there, then give him a spell.
hmm
Like, sure, while Finlayson was injured, that's one thing. And again, you want your structure to be there because you're the sum of all your parts as a forward line. But and like there was a lot of apprehension about whether to bring Finlayson back in, and by all accounts, he's far too good for SANFL level football.
I think he
So
kicks
if
four on the weekend.
yeah. So if Todd is not quite right from his body, and that's affecting his overall game, and it might not be, but
hmm
if there's something not quite right there, yeah, maybe you had to go Finlayson, and they put a lot of faith in Todd, and I love Todd. Like we spoke about it last week about the positives that
hmm
an informed Todd Marshall brings, but if it is, so my angle is if it is an issue with his body affecting his overall game, then give him a spell, let him recapture form
Yeah,
in the
because it could be as much.
SANFL.
It could just be as much confidence, which kicking a few bags in the SNFL. Even if
Mm, gain trust, yeah,
SNFL
in
team isn't
yourself.
going great at the moment, but if he kicks a bag, it doesn't. It's going to do
They
well
could
for
probably do
him.
with a Todd Marshall.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if he kicks five, whether or not they win or not, he's going to feel
yeah.
better personally.
Well,
Um,
and yeah,
Sometimes you just
from a
need, capture that feeling. Is that a Hilltop Hood song? Capture the recapturing.
Chaser.
Oh, chase that. No, it's
Chaser.
recapture the vibe. Recapturing the
Look,
vibe.
yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know. So yeah, chase that feeling is
Chase
in
that feeling.
is
Yeah,
the
he's got.
lyric,
He's got.
in one of the songs,
There's something about.
but
There's a song
yeah,
about
and like
recapturing the vibe. Anyway,
it just
yeah.
seemed like a bit of that Finlayson cunt. If I can, just you need a bit of cunt about you sometimes, and
Yeah.
we missed that a little bit on the weekend. And in hindsight, he would have got a terrible reception, but yeah, maybe you should have brought him back in and just copped that. If it
Mm,
means that he's going to, yeah, just show a bit of
yeah.
fuckery, like, and it gives us a bit more of an advantage as a result.
hmm
He's got a point to prove. I'll be interested to see his next game at
Yeah.
AFL level in that regard. Um, yeah, and just from back to Todd, yeah, I mean, I've said it a few times, but something doesn't seem quite right. And just hearing that summation of his preseason, just kind of made me think, well, if that's still having an effect, then maybe he shouldn't be playing. And we did have a forward to come back in on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. We'll see what happens, because Todd at his best is great. But if he needs a spell to recapture that, then
Yeah, because he might just be trying too hard with his body, and yeah, we don't know. To me, it just seems mental. So yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, no, we love him, so we want to see that back. All right, we'll get into the segments. The winners last week for the goal of the week, by the way, was the Rioli Candy Shop. Won pretty comfortably. They were both pretty comfortable as well.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, Rioli's Candy Shop won. I don't have the exact percentages in front of me. I forgot to put that into my thing, but I think it was with 75 to 80% of the vote. And Burgoyne's Hot Minute won over. And going back to find the BZT spoil, I actually watched it back a few times, obviously editing the videos and doing all that stuff that your nomination. I was like, fuck, that's a good one. And it had some good commentary because they were like, I was like,
I didn't think it got as much love as it should have.
I think I really just grabbed the fan hearts after that game were just
absolutely.
And
but like I said, even at the ground, it was palpable, the appreciation for Jace, for what he was producing on the night. So yeah, it definitely contributed.
What was interesting, just before we get into it, your BZT spoil actually was the lead in to then Jace coming out the back line for that hot minute. It was about.
Oh, was it? Yeah, because I wasn't sure.
It was about 15 to 30 seconds. It took me a while to find it because you gave me the fourth quarter as my, and I was like watching through, and I'm like having to like go back and forth and like wait for the defensive.
Sometimes I write the time.
It was good though. It was like a little treasure hunt for me for a bit there. But when I found it and then I watched it, because then I ended up doing my recording and stuff and capturing my snippets. I was like, oh, it's right there with the Burgoyne. Minute starts about half a minute later.
Sorry, this is a totally separate topic altogether, but you just said treasure hunt, and it made me think of when I was a kid. There was like this little cup ice cream that was like a treasure trove or something like that, I think it was called, and it had like hidden gummies in it. And the more ice cream it had like little shark gummies or something.
I fucking remember that. What the fuck was that?
It totally escaped my mind for 25 years.
Yeah, I've just remembered.
Until you just said treasure hunt. And I was like, that reminds me of an ice cream. I haven't thought about that ice cream in decades.
I'm suddenly
Again, total digression from the podcast.
I'm suddenly having a fucking flashback to sitting on like the farm up at Riverton.
But I kind of want one now too, and I don't even think they're in production anymore.
No. A lot of those things have changed. Like swings are smaller as well. Like, because I associate that time of my life when I was eating chocolate swings all the time as well. Like,
yum.
And now they're like half the size. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the awards.
Yeah. I just want to eat ice cream now. Goal of the week definitely wasn't a treasure hunt. It was just fuck it. I get to go first, so I'm going to take one of the 5 that we scored. And say Todd Marshall's goal. Obviously we just talked about him as far as his overall game and how he gets involved, but that was a really good goal from on 50. The technique in kicking it as well, because you're really having to put a lot of power into it. It just sometimes takes away from your direction, but you actually kind of hooked the ball really sweetly and kind of just the technique in kicking a goal from 50.
Forward hand pass. Wines comes forward. Marshall couldn't hold on, but Butts has given away the free kick for the arm chop. Directly in front, but has to kick in excess of 50 metres. He hits it beautifully. A couple in a row for Port Adelaide.
Shows exactly why you and I are so keen for him to get back into form.
He's very consistent with that long range.
He seems to have it down.
He always comes out to the right.
And it's just a really sweet, calm action. Like just really aesthetically nice to watch. Kind of almost not like it's the same as Kane Farrell at all, but Kane Farrell has a really sweet action when he's on the run kicking.
Yeah.
And Marshall's action in that was just a real sweet kind of a sweet kick. So I obviously this week was
his other opportunity at goal down the other end. He it was the exact same setup.
Mm-hmm.
He ambled in and then came out to the right, and unfortunately,
Yes, just
it swung too far to the left.
as as we are doing a lot this year. Either way, but yeah, that's my goal of the week. Obviously, it's not a great segment this week, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My nomination is HORNE-FRANCIS goal at the end of the third quarter.
Port have only ever gone back-to-back quarters goalless once before in their history. It's about to be twice unless this one matters here. Farrell through the middle. He's a long slicer of the footy. Deep ball here, looking for HORNE-FRANCIS to make the margin 23. He goals.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we're staring down the barrel of 2 goalless quarters in a row. I think we beat our 45 minutes without a goal against Collingwood, and I think it was like 55 minutes
Mm-hmm.
without a goal against Adelaide on the weekend. But basically, we had to scrap for it because it took us just about a whole quarter to kick. But just before that, Farrell gained possession in the middle of the ground and actually had a couple of players bearing down on him, and he put the Jets on to break away from that pressure. And again, one of few penetrating kicks for the game inside forward 50. He nailed it, which just sailed over 3 Adelaide defenders, and HORNE-FRANCIS took the contested mark in the end, which ended up being at the top of the goal square. But just the setup with Farrell bursting away, actually kicking a penetrating kick, HORNE-FRANCIS taking the contested mark, and then it kind of gave us a glimmer of hope leading into the last quarter. Because like you said earlier, we were never truly out of the game. We just needed a good, I think I said the telecast, we needed a good 15 minutes of actually kicking some goals, which didn't actually eventuate.
Which we did at times last
year.
year. So yeah, it's something that we can do. It just, it was never happening in this game. Yeah, he was he had a couple of nice shots on goal, and obviously missed one as well on the run. But yeah, his set shot kicking has been really consistent ever since probably halfway through. Actually, most of his career report's been pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
As far as his clutch set shot kicking, obviously he was a big part of a win a few weeks ago as well. So yeah, it's not the best goal of the week contenders, but have fun with that, people, in the votes. It'd be interesting to see where we go with that one. Sweeney, you get to go first on this one for the Sweeney moment of the week. Obviously, not a whole lot of them, but I found a couple that made me happy. So it'd be interesting to see what you go with first, to see if it's one of mine or if you've got something different.
Yeah. So some more HORNE-FRANCIS love from myself. I believe, again, Jamie not putting timestamp on it, I believe it was in the first quarter.
I get to eat my ice cream again.
Ice cream, yeah, treasure hunt. But basically, he got the ball. I think it was out of a stoppage, but he sprinted up the wing, burnt a couple of players, Crows players, that is. And then he just held off on kicking, and then made the decision to just change the angle late, and he laced out Rioli perfectly. He kicked it like 45 degrees inside 50.
Let it go. Drew, nifty little handball. Butters kept the arms free. HORNE-FRANCIS takes them on. Looks at Child. He says, "I'm a bit quicker than you." Beautifully composed kick to Rioli. HORNE-FRANCIS at his very best.
Instead of blazing away earlier, he sprinted up the wing. And then just, at the right moment, decided to just ping it inside forward 50 once Rioli had space to actually come and lead at him, and he hit him on the chest. I think it actually ended up in a Rioli goal. It was just that coming out of centre wing, putting the Jets on. Again, I mean, similar to my goal of the week. It's the passage of play, but just seeing him play with that confidence that we're now getting used to, burning about. And then having the presence of mind not to blaze away, but just hold off, and then make the decision to kick. And it was a perfect kick to Rioli.
Yeah. No, I really like that one. Yeah, I really like that one as well. I actually have a note in my first quarter that JHF really good. And I think that was off the back of that one. Yeah. And Rioli did kick a goal in the first quarter. I think that was off of that one. So, but yeah, as anyone that's watching or listening, you'll either hear the sound of it or you'll see it in the YouTube video.
Yeah.
All right, mine is So I didn't have that one in there, so I've got a couple that I'm now choosing from on the fly. But I guess I had one listed first, which happened in the first quarter as well. Loving a lot of what Brendan Zerk-Thatcher does in those 1%er kind of contests that could end up in a. And this was another moment, kind of like your nomination for him last week, that probably ends up in a goal, or at least a goal scoring opportunity that he takes away. It's basically in the second quarter, just at the start of the second quarter, actually only 30 odd seconds in, the ball's going into the Crows forward line, as we've talked about a few times, a pretty open forward line as they were getting us on the counter. And Jordan Dawson's kind of running onto the 50-meter arc to gather the ball. And, well, that's where BZT meets him. But the ball coming in, Zerk-Thatcher's had to leave his opponent, who's kind of in the center point of the forward 50 arc, as he's realized the ball's coming into that kind of more halfback flank position where Dawson's running onto it. And Zerk-Thatcher basically just sprints across and dives kind of towards the ball, which is at around Dawson's knee level. And if Zerk-Thatcher's not there, Dawson just gathers and either has...
Embraces it and chips it forward. Fogarty with 2 in the first quarter.
Over the top to Dawson, but he's going to be confronted by Zerk-Thatcher. Well done. Committed the body underneath to Zerk-Thatcher and did very well. Now, Drew, does he...
A shot or the player that Zerk-Thatcher left is probably running into an open square. So it's kind of one of those moments where could have looked really bad if he hadn't made it there in time, but just his desperation to get there. He created a contest and it ended up just heading back out to the wing. So I just really, appreciated that kind of attack on, especially in a game that was going the way it was. It was just, just one of those 1%er little moments that, definitely. I even noted it when I wrote it in my notes. I had Sweeney and Capitals next to it because I was like, that's one of those moments that made me feel like I felt, the game wasn't giving me too many warm and fuzzies, but that moment, that little moment, I was just like, that's the kind of shit we need to find our way back into the game.
He's featured a few times, BZT, in our Sweeney nominations. So
absolutely,
it's a testament to him.
Yeah. No, he's been a really, I think probably the more unheralded of the 3 to 4. Well, I guess 4. If you adding Sweet into it as well. Of the guys that came in across the trades over the off season, but I think he's been just a brilliant addition to, especially how we play. And I guess again, defensive structure hasn't been great at times this year, but he's certainly playing his role quite well.
He was mostly on Tex on Thursday night, but I don't think Tex's 2 goals really were his fault.
No, I had a note that he got,
from what I can remember.
Yeah, I think he kind of got beaten early. In the immediate, the first minute of the game, Tex kind of just wheels away from him, and but that was kind of, again, you'd hope he sticks with him a little bit better, but it's kind of just, I think that's just endemic of kind of how we attack the overarching issues that we started the game with, not just him. So again, he's making those 1% little plays, as you nominated him last week with his spoil that. Both of his nominations the last 2 weeks have saved goal scoring opportunities because they didn't end up. Yeah, they were going to be a fairly high percentage goal scoring opportunity otherwise. So he's doing those 1% of things really well. So, all right, cool. A couple of good Sweeney nominations for the week. All right, the player of the year voting, which is always an interesting one. I get to go first this week. So I'll start with my one vote. We've all kind of hinted at a couple of them, but I had one vote for Dan Houston. Thought he dropped out of the he dropped out of the running for the 100-point super coach or whatever. He's dropped out of that. I think it's what Sheasel and a couple of others left. So he didn't quite get there. I think I always get confused between super coach and fantasy. Whichever one he was in the 100 points, I think he got 90 odd points this week. So he still had a decent game, but just didn't quite get up to the 100. So
that would be super coach.
Yeah, he ran at 90% efficient disposal efficiency, had 20 odd disposals. Didn't quite get the meters gain that we loved it. Like that, he's sometimes partly when he's having like one of those real banger Dan Houston games is when he's getting 400 or 500 meters gain sometimes and having a real impact along that way. So, but he's still in a, it's one of those games that's tough sometimes, but he still had 20 odd disposals and just affected, was having a Dan Houston having the best attempt at a Dan Houston impact on a game that wasn't quite going the way we would have liked. So had to give him the one vote there and continuing to have a really good, season to back up in his first All-Australian jacket. 2 votes, Miles Bergman. You've talked about him already on the podcast. 8 marks, which was really, I think, led the team as far as marking goes, which was really important in the game to kind of stem some of those attacks from the Crows as well as, get some ball going forward, which he did with 587 metres gained. 20 disposals, running at 90% efficiency. Again, a game that we weren't very efficient with the ball at times. So he was one of those, him and Houston led the team, I think, with both of them having 90% disposal efficiency, which with having 20 disposals running at 90%, you're doing pretty well in a game. Again, as I mentioned, not defined by a very good efficiency at times and clean disposal. No. So I thought Bergman was really good in that sense. My 3 votes, Jason Horne-Francis. He probably would have been higher up the votes if he had probably 6 to 7 more disposals. He just was a bit quiet in the middle part of the game, but then the entire team was. We didn't score a goal until, as you said, he broke that drought towards the end of the third quarter there. But 15 possessions, 12 of them contested. But I really appreciate the fact that he steps up and when we throw him forward, he finds a way to take the contested marks or get in the position to take marks and kick goals. Considering his role in our side is really a midfielder now and really is building into being, a linchpin of our side in that position for the next decade. The fact he can go forward and kick goals with regularity, I think he's still averaging a goal a game this year, which, he was one of few that were averaging 20 possessions, 10 contested and 1 goal in the league a few weeks ago. Whether that's changed now, I haven't actually checked, but that kind of just shows the role he's playing. So really appreciate what he's doing. Again, lower possession game for him this year. Again, that would be nice to see that tick up a little bit and probably would have got him up a bit further in the votes. But again, his effort can't be denied. And I really appreciate a player that shows that kind of heart and effort later in the game. That we needed to try to get the result that ultimately we didn't, but his effort can't be denied in that sense. 4 votes, we've talked about him before, but Ollie Wines, 14 contested possessions out of his 22, 10 tackles, which by far led the team. Again, one of those games that kind of he doesn't shot like. Find he's playing a role now that doesn't highlight himself as much as he did in his Brownlow years, but he's just doing a lot of dirty work. And again, I've been quietly pleased with how, he's still not the most clean with the ball. Like he's never going to be that player, but I think he's been a bit better than his reputation would tell this year. And this was one of those games as well that I really appreciated just what him being fit and ready for it, even in his veteran years, after a couple of interrupted preseasons, I've been really appreciating that and wanted to give him his flowers there. And 5 votes, Zach Butters, over 600 meters gained, 16 contested possessions, 9 inside 50s. His balls inside 50 were a little bit better again. My other Sweeney moment I possibly had was in the last quarter with about 14 minutes to go. He arches the back. I think Riley O'Brien's the closest opponent, trying to chase him down, and Ollie just inside the center square, off kind of half back. Zach just kind of looked. I reckon he just looked and went, "That's Riley O'Brien. I can arch the back and take a bounce." And then he laces one inside 50 for McEntee, who unfortunately misses. That moment. But
it's probably another topic could have spoken about in our wrap up. That moment in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to shitting him too much for it, but yeah, it
wasn't just McEntee, but it just epitomized our dominance for little return. That
It was,
start of
yeah.
the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after HORNE-FRANCIS, yeah, got us back into the game.
Yeah, because that one I think would have got us
yeah.
within 2 goals, I think. So,
Yeah, what
and
were we? Yeah, at that point in time, I think it was 18 or 19 points. So
yeah, so
yeah,
gets
it would have
with 14
brought it down.
minutes to go. If you're getting within 3 goals, you're
So
starting
much time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a
Great run from Butters, just going back to
yes,
what you were
yeah.
talking
He
about.
was a
Yeah.
bit more back because I have not that I've been overly critical of Butters because he's still been in my votes. I think most of the last few weeks, but I've kind of just mentioned that his kicks have been a bit off. But that was kind of he was a bit more. I think his ball use was reasonable as well. It might have been 65 to 70%. I don't have it written here. I thought I did, but again, not he's yeah. I thought for us he was best to field after a few weeks where he kind of probably lowered his colours a little bit. Not again, still pretty good for he's just we expect a lot out of him, but he was getting closer back to his best, and unfortunately, just the overall team result didn't go our way. But I thought Butters was best to field for me. So as I said to you off air, I was like, I'm interested to see if we even Yahtzee on the players we have in our top 5. So I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Take it away.
We don't. We don't, which is good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Bit of intrigue. I do want to give an honourable mention to Lockie Jones. I actually had him in my first list of votes. Because we've acknowledged that I thought the coaches sold him out and was never going to win the early contest with Darcy Fogarty. But once they made the change, I thought he had a fantastic game. The key difference for me was that he was very, very clean with his possession. A lot more single grabbing of the football in terms of ground ball gets, marking the ball, which
he
again, when he had that
yeah.
bad game against Melbourne, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I said in our review that I don't think it's an issue that I can remember him having. So in the week since, I think he's been marking the ball actually quite well. And yeah, particularly there was a lot of forays forward for the Crows. He got himself in front position. One sticks out in my mind. And yeah, he got the front position and marked the ball, used the ball quite well, 76% actually. Again, he's not in my vote, so but I wanted to give him some flowers. 17 possessions, where I think in recent weeks it's been sub 10. So impacting the game, that's what we want. We just want that little bit more from Lockie because he can actually use the ball quite well and be quite impactful. So honourable mention to him. My one vote goes to HORNE-FRANCIS. Excuse me. Mostly because he did fall out of the game in the middle quarters.
Yeah. I played with that one a lot.
Thought he had fantastic moments. And yeah, almost single-handedly got us back. Well, he did get us back in the game. But I have a feeling that he might be have the Robbie Gray effect on us in years to come. He seems to have that I don't know how to describe it. He has that presence where it seems that he will win us games off of his own boot in years to come.
Yeah,
At the moment,
in like the space of a quarter, like Robbie did in that, Showdown 48 or whatever it was a few years back, or 44.
Yeah, in 2018.
Yeah.
The Motlop game. Yeah. And in this game, there was like a sample size of what he has the potential to offer. I do think it's a bit of an indictment on our team at the moment that a 20-year-old is kind of having to provide that spark and is not, he didn't show 4 quarters of effort. Oh, well, excuse me. In the middle quarters, there was effort there. I think they put a bit more of a clamp on him though. And he doesn't seem to be working for uncontested possessions. He just wants to get in and get dirty. Which I guess honourable in its own right because he's not padding his stats. He's just doing what he feels he needs to do. Because I mean, he had
80% of his possessions were contested. It was 12 out of 12.
How many possessions? Yeah, so he had 15 disposals.
And 12 of them were contested. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's just sums it up. But
whereas you have Butters, who's 16 and 18, so a lot more of an even split to what he was. Yeah.
So HORNE-FRANCIS, with a bit more of an impact in the middle quarters, he probably could have gone up my votes, but needed to get him in nonetheless. My 2 votes actually goes to Kane Farrell. I thought he had a really.
He was almost in mine.
Had a really good game.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to go back on JHF, the AFL app does have him still averaging 21 disposals, your 10 contested. I didn't check goals though. Shit.
I feel like he'd be close to averaging.
Still 1 goal a game. Yeah. So he's still got 20, 10 and 1. Anyway, Farrell, I saw again, had to absorb a lot of pressure as a defenseman, and then had the meters gained that you would expect from Kane Farrell.
Yeah, 500 odd, or
582.
Oh, very close to Bergman actually. So yeah.
3 clearances, 5 inside 50s. Again, that had that goal assist with JHF at the end of the third. I just saw his overall game. I think he was up there with tackles as well. 5 tackles, which is equal second in conjunction with 5 other players. I loved his effort. He seemed to be getting in good positions. Although he had the meters gained, still a few possessions where I thought he could have been more penetrating with his kick, but still gaining a lot of territory for us nonetheless. I just thought he was deserving of some votes for his overall game.
He almost got in for my Houston spot, which I'm still thinking about, but I got to go with it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's all much of a muchness in that 1 and 2 spot generally. Just who you kind of want to give flowers to, maybe sometimes. My 3 goes to Bergman. I spoke about him earlier, the quandary that we have with his position. But 8 marks, like you said, up there in 587 meters gained for him. 4 inside 50s, 4 rebound 50s, like 90% efficiency. He's just very, very valuable down back. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of the season. But again, having to absorb a lot of pressure down back when he was posted down back. It was just a great game from him. And then my 4 and 5 are, same as you, Wines and Butters.
Chalk.
Like you said, Wines is doing a lot of dirty work. He just, for 4 quarters, he didn't want the game to slip away. Wines, this is. And, I thought he had a fantastic game for all the reasons that you listed before. And Butters, just like he would have won the medal if we'd won this game. Just again, his comments post-match bewildering because I thought he epitomized everything that he said the team didn't do.
And I guess that's
it's just confusing.
I guess that's what I should have added it. I did have the thought earlier, but I forgot to add it. No, maybe I did. I can't remember already. Long podcast. But I think it's not indicative of him. It's more like whether his feelings about the overall squad, which is probably more of a issue for another day. But his effort on the his effort on the day was really, really good. Considering he had to he was the leader of, de facto leader on the field today because, Rozee just wasn't a factor, by halftime at that point. So, So, he had to take it out. 7 clearances. We had just had such a good clearance game overall. It just feels so frustrating to just to dominate.
Plus meters gain. I think it was 5 inside 50s, 20. Oh no,
there's 9 in. It was 9 inside. It was not. I think it was 9 inside 50s. If I've got that written down on my stats, so
sorry, yeah, I don't know what I just said, but yeah, it is 9 inside 50s. If I
Yeah.
even mentioned it.
And again,
But,
like
yeah.
I said, one of them was almost a Sweeney. So
Yeah,
he had one of those little games that he had like his little highlights and his little.
Some of his dinky kicks that just
Yeah.
land perfectly.
Did you see that? You see that stat? I think I retweeted it, or did I?
The bounces?
Yeah, he's beating like 6 AFL teams with bounces this
As
year.
a whole?
Yeah.
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 It's interesting because, the bounce, no one bounces anymore, but
he
tends to gain possession, take 5 steps, bounce it, and then...
Because he knows he can take it, because he's got a really good innate game understanding of where he is on the field at any one time. We've talked about it a lot. Like, he's very good at understanding the game or seeing the field, understanding, okay, if I, as he did against Riley O'Brien, take 5 steps, take a bounce, because then I'm going to take another, 7 to 9 steps and then lace it inside 50 for McIntyre. Like, that kind of stuff is just the cerebral stuff we love about what Butters does. So,
yeah.
Love the kid.
For sure. Yeah.
Hopefully he's got a showdown medal in his very near future anyway.
He's good for one, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I know we're running out of time here, but we'll just quickly wrap into Geelong for the next 10 minutes and talk about what we got coming up this week. Is Geelong at GMHBA Stadium, a stadium I don't think we've won at since
07.
Oh God, it is 07. I just almost did the Michael Scott. Oh God, fuck, like just Christ.
God, no.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while. I was there for our most recent almost win when Dangerfield kicked a winner with a minute or 2 to go. But GMHBA on Friday night. 6:40, I think, local time for Adelaide. Not local time, 7:10 local time in Geelong, but 6:40 in Adelaide, I think.
Yeah, wow, that's an early start.
There's two games on Friday night, I believe.
Oh, because they're doing because of Mother's Day.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so 2 games on Friday night, but I guess it isn't too bad. But I've never complained too much about late games because I'm a late night owl with my beers anyway. So, but yeah, which it's for me, it's a little bit better because it's 2:10 instead of 2:40 over here on Friday morning. So, looks like the weather's going to be 18 degrees, cloudy. Probably not too bad for Geelong. Some 25k winds during the morning. I don't know what that means for the night, but yeah, probably just typical Friday weather. May weather for Geelong. What is Friday weather? Yeah. But yeah, Geelong obviously going along like the fucking Terminator. Specifically the Terminator 2-1 where
die.
Yeah, the one that you shoot it and it just molds into metal and you have to take it to
T2000. Is that what model?
I think it's a T1000. So I feel like Arnold was the T800, and then Robert Patrick's character was the T1000 and T2.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but I'm not like, I love the Terminator movies, but I'm not like in depth knowledge. So if someone's listening and going, "You're wrong," then I'm sorry. I love the movies. I just haven't. I've seen like.
I love Terminator 2. Yeah, that's my favorite.
It's an incredible movie.
So I should know what model number it is, but yeah.
But anyway, Geelong just won't fucking die. And 7-1, they lost on the weekend. Injury concerns are obviously Patrick Dangerfield's out for the 4 to 6 weeks, and apparently on his way back to Adelaide. Mitch Edwards is out for a few more weeks. Tanner Bruin, who's their clearance leader, I think, this year, when I had a quick look at the stats, he is out. He's as far as I know, he hurt his shoulder on the weekend, but they say it's not structural contact. It was a contact injury. They've checked it, and they don't think there's structural damage. So Tanner Bruin's a TBC, I guess. But
who was the player you said before Bruin?
Mitch Edwards is out for a few weeks as well.
Who the fuck is
that? Is he a defender, or am I thinking of someone completely different? Clearly, I actually don't know. Then I'm thinking of Mitch.
Mitch Duncan.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah. Mitch Edwards is an 18-year-old player who he hasn't even.
I actually brought it up thinking it was Mitch Duncan. So yeah, no, that's my bad. Anyway,
it'd be great if Mitch Duncan wasn't playing.
Yeah. I saw Mitch and just was like, and then I read it as So that's my bad. So don't worry about that one. But Dangerfield's out, obviously. Tanner Bruins, we'll see. As far as last I could see, I just Googled, like I knew he had a shoulder stinger on the weekend, and I Googled him a little bit. Couldn't find any information, so I think we'll still wait and see on that one at this point. We're recording obviously on a Tuesday night here in Adelaide. Well, here in Adelaide for you, me in LA early Tuesday morning. So yeah, one of the storylines for the week before we get into our three things, just to touch on it because we talked about it off air. Tom Hawkins hasn't kicked a goal since gather round, I think, which is an interesting stat. It was funny. I thought it was interesting because Chris Scott brought it up as a because people have been criticizing him. He had a week out for rest, but it's 4 weeks he hasn't kicked a goal. And Chris Scott was kind of defending him, saying what he does for the structure and all that stuff. And I was just like, oh, this is what we talk about with Charlie.
I've heard this before, yeah.
And he even brought up, he said, well, goals are a sexy stat, and I was just like, well, they are. And in defense of the people that like to be dickheads on Twitter, it's like goals are the stat. So, but I appreciated what he was trying to say about what Hawkins does, and he clearly said he's like, oh, he's 35, he's not going to be.
Can you imagine if Ken said those exact same words? Jesus.
As much as Elon has tried, that might actually destroy X as it is now known.
Like exactly what Chris Scott said about Tom Hawkins, just replace it with Ken and Charlie.
Yeah, goals are a sexy stat, and then you just have 20 million accounts being like, "Oh, Ken thinks goals are a sexy stat." Yeah, no. So that'll be interesting to watch this week because obviously their forward line has been something that's we've struggled to deal with we had a good game against them last year at Adelaide Oval, but over the years it's been a struggle. Jeremy Cameron's having a great year, deciding to turn into the ultimate, just almost the LeBron James of the AFL right now, where he can just do a little bit of everything, move up the field, get involved in the play in the middle of the field, but still kick a bag. I think he's leading the team in goals and, just having a really, really good year and all around, and has turned into they've kind of changed the role he plays. And obviously, as much as we think of Geelong as this old man team as they were in 2022, and they had made fun of in their Mad Monday. Yeah. Guys like Max Holmes, Brandon Parfitt, Ollie Henry,
sprinkled some youth.
Ollie Henry had 3 goals. Like they've got a lot of guys that have come in, which Jack Bowes as well. Which say what you want about how they got these guys and what the AFL does with some and the Gold Coast, what deals they're trying to do. But they've built this team and they're actually doing okay with some of that youth they're sprinkling in there as well. So, yeah, a lot to consider, and I'm not super confident with this week. But 3 things. No. I'll go first. My thing. I think you're going to go with a positional sense. I'm going to go with the forward line. Last weekend really raised some questions about, again, not the new questions, but it is a continued question. With the forward line structure and all that stuff, and how we're entering 50 and getting quality shots and goal is a big issue. Clearly exacerbated by last week's performance. And this week, with guys like Finlayson's available, kicked 4 goals in the Sandful, the lead into last week's showdown in the Sandful showdown. Guys that aren't playing well, we touched on Marshall. Darcy Byrne-Jones dropped off a bit too. Not that I expect either of them to be dropped, but it's more just what we do. I'm really interested to see both how, if we do address a little bit of it, because clearly you'd hope they address some of and adjust what they're going inside 50, but then the guys that are inside the 50 arc and are operating there, what they do, and if, how we bring Finlayson back in, because I think Finlayson does have to come back in after last week's performance. What they do there is a real watch and thing for me to watch this weekend. I'm really, really intrigued by what we exactly do in that space of the field.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know your thing is a similar thing in a different part of the field as well.
Yeah, but just to quickly go off the back of your point, like, yeah, although we don't expect players like Darcy Byrne-Jones and Todd Marshall to get dropped, I know I'm not one looking for statements here and there, but like you said, Finlayson had a pretty good return in the SANFL. Yeah. Do we make somewhat of a ruthless call and try a different mix,
Mm.
with one player coming in, one player going out potentially, to see how it looks. And I think that, the forward issues are symptomatic of also the entries, which
Yes.
leads
Yeah.
into my thing, which is the midfield mix. So we know that Connor's not going to be there, rested 1 week too late, as we've discussed, but he's not going to be there. But for all the same reasons that we didn't think he should play in the showdown, still apply to the game against Geelong. I feel that we have adequate depth in the midfield. Dangerfield less, although I don't think he's quite at the start of the season that you would expect him to overall. He's been well supported by players like Tanner Bruin, and Parfitt seems to have just, realized that he can play football. So again, like I expected in the showdown, I feel that Jackson Mead deserves a full game again. Because if he doesn't play a full game in the AFL, he has to play a full game in the SANFL, which I feel is a letdown. It's just a punishment for being the sub for 2 weeks when you probably shouldn't have been the sub for 2 weeks. And whether that, and does that mean we bring in, a Francis Evans, for example, and pick the sub out of him or McEntee? That'd be interesting. But with Wines, Butters, Drew, like we spoke about, Burgoyne hopefully rebounding to go back to his form for the previous 4 weeks, we can absolutely match them. We're going to be more so forced for everyone to lift because Connor's not going to be there. And whether that,
I guess
encourages them to lift as a whole. I mean, like I said in the St Kilda game, I felt the midfield did lift as a whole, and not having your rolled gold captain there, hopefully forces a bit of HORNE-FRANCIS as well, give him a bit more midfield time to impact.
Because that has been a
more important thing is find that extra possession at half forward to put their defenders under more pressure, and that's on the midfield. And then on the forwards to capitalize if we do that. Because this is going to be a tough game. I don't expect to win. I'm just going to put it out there. Winning at Cardinia Park is fucking difficult at the best of times. We gave it a red hot crack last year. And if it wasn't for a very interesting umpiring performance, perhaps we would have, but we didn't. It's a loss in the book. So catching Geelong off of a loss. You mentioned Cameron. It's going to be tough, but it starts in the middle, and Cameron seems to be playing all over the field. He didn't have his kicking boots on again, so we're really pushing shit uphill with this game. Sorry to be bleak, but
it always sucks coming up.
I think I did see someone on social media say like it would be very on brand for us to just come out and win this game, like out of the box, just against all odds.
Yeah, could be.
And I'd love that.
Yeah,
but I don't expect it.
Yeah, I guess, and that goes into closing off with the third thing, which is the kind of the collective thing we thought about, which is just the general intent behind this. It's a game that no one expects us to win. I don't think, and the betting lines check that out. It's I think when I screenshot
like $3 plus
$3.70 we're at, and they're at $1.28, which is pretty long, like a pretty healthy spread in the odds for AFL footy.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
But that's kind of when you think about going down to Sydney last year after those back-to-back Collingwood and Showdown losses last year, it was kind of like you can make a statement.
Fantastic point.
Yeah, there's a chance for a statement, even if that game was kind of one of those games that we didn't play well for a quarter and a half, but we had bursts where we showed that intent, and intent is what we want to see. Intent and kind of drive and passion to exert, just get extract a result out of a shit situation, because that's what we did. We did at times last year, and that's what we want to see. So,
Well, and something that I said in the first month to 6 weeks of the year was like, we have stuff to work on, but we don't want to be continually saying that after every week.
yeah.
But again, I will say that if we line everything up for this one game, we are more than capable of taking it off of Geelong. It's going to be very, very difficult. And, you know, I don't want that to appear like a get out of jail free card. Like, it's objectively hard to win in Geelong.
Yeah,
That's a
it
fact.
is a well-known fact of the last 20 years of AFL footy because of how good they've been.
Yeah, but just because
I've
it's
been
hard,
there. It's a weird spot.
Yeah, just because it's hard doesn't mean it can't be done. And like the expected ladder has a second, so that just goes to show that if we line up all of our strengths, we switch it on for one game. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's probably going to be a slog, but yeah, we start with the right intent early, which I think by and large we have done. I mean, our first quarters, we've actually, what is it, 6-1 or 6-2?
Yeah, I don't have that.
Where we've won first quarters this season. So the intent, the conversion, and just our defensive structure, just line everything up for the first time this year and get the season back on track. Like, we're in the A. Other clubs, you know, Carlton, for example, they've dropped a couple of games which they would have hoped to win or expected to win. Like, our issues are other people's issues, but we don't want to be that mid-pack that has those issues for the whole season. Just line it up.
We've built ourselves a squad that thinks that we can be above that. So that's what we want to try to get to.
Absolutely. And we expect to be above that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got a group that can be there. Injuries are a factor, but yeah, even if I always tip Port in my head. I probably in my cricket group, I'll tip Geelong. I'll put that out there. I don't, if you don't think
betting against your opponent is a win-win in my opinion. Because if you win the tip, you win the tip. If you win the game, then Port wins. So
yeah, that's my thing with the 50-50s. I
tip.
tip Port most weeks when I genuinely think they should win. In these ones, I will tip Geelong because then, like you said, I get the tip. But, I'd love to see us come out and win, just one of those. I mean, fuck it. If we went down there and just randomly won by 40 points, a lot less stressful. But if we come out of this one with like an 8-point win or some random shit like that, that would be wonderful. Yeah. But if we lose by 15 to 20 points, or we've had one of those good games that we just got beaten by what is a very good team on the day on their home deck in one of the most, more unique home decks in the AFL, that's, I just want to see some improvement from what we had.
But equally, I don't want to, again, be the better side.
Yeah.
From all the statistical markers and still lose. If
we lose in a shootout or something like that with just two teams going at it.
Yeah.
Or we win.
We're going to get Aaliyah back as well, most likely too.
Because he looked okay after obviously concussion.
It did.
Yeah, we appreciate concussions aren't linear in the sense of like what they look like, but it didn't look like a serious concussion is what I'm trying to say. So all signs are pointing that he'll be back. And I guess it's waiting.
Shore up our structure.
It'd be interesting to see.
I hope they keep Bergman down back though.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. I think Georgiades is going to be fine, but he looked like I think it was more of a contact knee injury rather than I think he got a knock.
Yeah, they put ice on it. I think that was a precaution. And Lockie Jones came off as well. So I've just credited him for a great game. Hopefully he's okay because
I think he's just having
perfect
young growing
back up. Yeah.
Yeah, young growing man's injuries at the moment, like soft tissue kind of stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully, if he backs up the game that he had against the Showdown, then that's fantastic. It's everything that we hope and expect. Because just because he looks like a man doesn't mean that he is a man. Again, he's a guy that's played less than 50 games.
He grew his first mustache at the age of 7, is what I've heard. So, he's just like he's blessed and cursed at the same time. Anyway, I know you need to get off, and I appreciate you coming on and battling through. I know you've had to move houses this weekend, which has brought on the rundown cold that you've been battling, but you've been as stellar as ever on this podcast with all the insights and everything. So you've not certainly.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. And you know,
happy to do it. We need
Yeah.
to face up to the wins and the losses. So yeah. No,
yeah, and either way, we've done 2 hours either way, so it shows that
Yeah.
we put the same effort into it regardless. So,
Yeah.
no, I appreciate your insights and everything.
Yeah. No, thanks to yourself again for also showing up, because the time difference is always challenging, but also thanks for anyone who chooses to listen or watch as well. I hope our discussion can help alleviate anyone's tension and offer some insight to some people looking for it, who just like to consume port whatever.
Yeah. And if we've added, hopefully we've added some insight into, as much as it's a sucky result to think about, it's hopefully added some extra food of thought in a positive way of thinking about the future of Port Adelaide footy. And you can always
it's done now, whether you like it or not. It's done. But the season is not done.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go. I look at my computer right now and it says it's the 7th of May, which means it's still anyone's game. Hell, I saw something today that people are talking about. Well, if the Crows can snatch a result or two out of the next couple of weeks, they're in final. And it's just like they're 3 and 5 right now. So like it shows that and we're 5 and 3. So there's a long way to go. So yeah. Anyway, appreciate it, Jamie. We're gonna wrap it up now, but follow on all the socials. I'm gonna be getting some stuff up on the store soon. I'm still just working on a few designs. I've a busy couple of weeks, so it's been a little bit slower, but a couple of things coming there, and then I'm gonna start probably work towards having a Patreon set up soon too, which is where Jamie and I are talking behind the scenes about a couple of things we want to do there, and then a few plans. So keep an eye on the socials and everything for those announcements. But I thought for those listening at the back end of this, if you've made it to this far into the podcast, then you get a little taste of what's to come soon. So
appreciate everyone who if you're listening, downloading, watching, appreciate, and for what we've been talking about, just want to offer the opportunity for anyone who wants to support it won't be a lot. If I'm of the understanding that you are too, so
and it's absolutely not going to be something that
look out, and we want to make it just as worthwhile for anyone who wants to contribute in this day and age. It's tough for a lot of people, but
never going to be something that's going to have any pressure on
community and whatnot with what we've got going here.
Love the chats with everyone, so appreciate it. Anyway, it's 1:40 a.m. here. You need to go pick up a kid. It's about time to just wrap it up and say, Khan the fucking pair.
Go Port.